This is a special flag because it's filled with love from all of your family. All right? Now, with your dad being in the military and me being in the military, they've given me this honor and privilege to present this special flag to you and your sister. All right? So with that, on behalf of the United States Army and a grateful nation, I would like to present this flag to you as a token of appreciation for the sacrifice that your father made to this great nation and all Americans. So know that when you look at this flag, all of America is thankful for your father serving in the U.S. Army and the sacrifices he made to ensure our country was safe and secure. So please accept this flag on behalf of our country.
Good morning, everyone. Here I am at Area 51. Just look at this beauty. It's been here for almost 40 years. Not a secret anymore, thanks to Donald Trump. Let me switch to the front camera. I'll show you this wonder. It's not even metal. Scientists say it's something else, but no one will say what. All right, that's it for today. Stay tuned, because in the next videos, we'll show you who's actually flying these things.
You're in for surprise. You're in for a shock. In London town streets, when there's darkness and fog, when you least expect me, and you turn your back, I'll attack. I smile when I'm sneaking through shadows by the wall. I laugh when I'm creeping, but you won't hear me at all. Oh, hear my warning, never turn your back on the ripper. You'll soon shake with fear, and never knowing if I'm near. I'm sly and I'm shameless, nocturnal and nameless, except for the ripper, or if you like, Jack the Knife. Any back alley street is where we'll probably meet. Underneath the gas lamp, where the air's cold and damp. I'm a nasty surprise. I'm a devil in disguise. I'm a footstep at night. I'm a scream of dismay. Oh, hear my warning. Never turn your back on the ripper. The ripper.
What we're seeing in Ukraine is we're seeing a country that is, and everybody knows this now, there's no more hiding this. You know, so why is Ukraine so important? Well, it's a hub for human trafficking. It's a hub for specifically for child trafficking. It's a hub for narcotics trafficking. It's a hub for weapons trafficking. We know about our biolabs because Victoria Nuland said we had them there. I mean, we've always known that, but that's stated now publicly. And there's a lot of money just flowing into this this country. And you say to yourself, where is this money going? And
is it money laundering? Is it money laundering?
I mean, money law, you name it. Just this week, and it may not have come up on your screen, but I know you pay attention a lot. I mean, there's a couple of people. I think one of them is like somebody in the Ministry of Defense there, and it might be the Minister of Defense, or maybe somebody in his orbit. They're buying these gigantic homes for millions and millions of dollars, and you say to yourself, how is this the case?
Right now, not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
Breakfast table in an otherwise empty room. The young girl, violins, center of her own attention. The mother reads aloud, child tries to understand it, tries to make her proud. The shades go down, it's in her head. Painted room, cantina, something wrong. Don't call me daughter, not fit to. The picture kept will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to. The picture kept will remind me. Don't call me. She holds the hand and holds it down. She will Don't call me daughter, not fit to. The picture kept will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to be. The picture kept will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to. The picture kept will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to be. The picture kept will remind me. Don't call me.
One of the things that I learned from whistleblowers from the cabal itself is that they have to work within something they call the rules. And this is very, very important. The rules are a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. Now, what do I mean by allowed to exist? I mean that they are aware that there are benevolent forces that will prevent them from achieving their goals unless we give them permission to enslave us. Ultimately, the universe is intelligent, alive, and conscious, and it is benevolent. It is a benevolent consciousness. That consciousness does not allow the negative to succeed unless it is invited. So the cabal has made a science, a very elaborate science, out of studying these arcane, occult, magical principles that allow them to get away with what they do. So they have to put out everything that tells you who they are in music videos, in these Super Bowl halftime shows, the Grammy Awards ceremonies. They're out there showing you the truth. This is what people are going to have so much trouble with once disclosure happens, is that these people actually practice black magic, and they are very, very good at it.
Gratitude is a force, a perspective changer. When life seems a maze, gratitude is the guiding light. It's not about saying thank you out of habit. It's a mindset, a heartfelt recognition of life's gifts. When we embrace gratitude, our eyes open wider. We don't just see a sunrise, we feel its warmth, its promise. The laughter of a loved one isn't just a sound, it's a reminder of bonds that uplift. Being thankful is transformative. It doesn't erase challenges, but equips us to face them with strength and hope. With gratitude, setbacks aren't endpoints. They're stepping stones, parts of our journey to growth. But it's more than just a momentary feeling. It's a daily commitment. Making time for gratitude means making time for a more fulfilling life. In gratitude, we find clarity. We find purpose. We find joy. In the dance of life, gratitude is the rhythm. As you move forward, let it guide you, inspire you, and remind you of the beauty in every step. With gratitude in your heart, every day becomes a gift to cherish and share.
it's got so cold. How can I be lost in remembrance I relive? And how can I blame you when it's me I can't forgive? These days drift on inside a fog. It's thick and suffocating. His sinking life outside its hell, inside intoxicating. He's run aground like his life. Water much too shallow. Slipping fast down with the ship. Fading in the shadows now. A castaway. They've all gone away. They've gone away. How can I be lost if I've got nowhere to go? Search for seas of gold. How come it's got so cold? How can I be lost in remembrance I relive? And how can I blame you when it's me I can't forgive? Forgive me. Forgive me not. Forgive me. Forgive me not. Forgive me. Forgive me not. Forgive me. Forgive me. Why can't I forgive me? Set sail to sea, but pull off course by the light of golden treasure. How could he know this new dawn's light would change his life forever? How can I be lost if I've got nowhere to go? Search for seas of gold. How come it's got so cold? How can I be lost in remembrance I relive? So how can I blame you when it's me I
every day says, I want to settle the war, let's negotiate. And Zelensky has said, we're not going to negotiate. But 92, the wall came down in the Soviet Union. Gorbachev said, I'm going to allow you to reunify Germany, but I want your commitment. After that, you will not move NATO 1 inch to the east. And we solemnly swore we wouldn't do it. Well, then in 97, we're going to move NATO 1,000 miles to the east and take 15 countries into it and surround the Soviet Union. We then overthrow the government. In 2014, their elected government and put in a Western sympathetic government. Russia then has to go into Crimea because they have a port at Vladivostok. It's their only warm water port. And they know the new government that we just installed is going to invite the U.S. Navy into their port. So then the Russians go in. They only send 40,000 people. It's a nation of 44 million people. They clearly do not intend to conquer Ukraine. But they want us back at the negotiating table. The Russians just want a guarantee that Ukraine won't join NATO. Zelensky signs the treaty. Putin's people sign the treaty. And Putin starts withdrawing the Russian troops in good faith. And what happens? Joe Biden sends Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, over to Ukraine in April and forces him to tear up the treaty. And since then, 450,000 kids have died who none of them should.
These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. Most organizations that end up being used to prey on children, Oxfam is a recent example, all of the United Nations organizations, the Boy Scouts of America, all of the child services agencies across the United States of America, they did not start out as organizations to prey on children, but they attract pedophiles. And ultimately, pedophiles end up rising in the ranks and controlling those organizations, so that an organization that initially started out in the service of children becomes an organization that is in fact hunting children.
Kid, another
As expected, the Epstein files turning into a complete shit show. Monday, journalist Michael Schellenberger reported that he had a whistleblower telling him that the FBI and the CIA were destroying evidence and files, right? Big shocker, right? Today, they're reporting that those files are related to Epstein and J6. Pam Bondi this is also being reported that Pam Bondi, in her possession in these FBI files, are video evidence of celebrities, politicians, and UK royalty in compromising situations with minors. Shocker. More shocker, like, tell us something we don't know. Well, that's a lot bigger than they originally thought it was. They have more evidence. On top of that, there are IRS reports of Jeffrey's funding that are going, that would be the indication of who was funding Jeffrey and this giant trafficking operation. Yeah. So that's more than just a list of who was fucking on the plane, right? So the reasons that you wouldn't want to release this would be if you're going to build a big case and prosecute these people, you can't just dump all your cards on the table and dump all that out. So that makes sense. Now, that whistleblower also said that there are redundancies in the FBI system of multiple servers, and they're disconnected, they're not networked, and that there are backups to this evidence, and they are unsure of whether or not the people that are destroying evidence are even aware of that. The one FBI guy was explaining that the higher-ups at the FBI, like the most corrupt fuckers, clearly, Comey, McCabe, all these cocksuckers, they wouldn't know how to delete shit off of a fucking computer if their life depended on it, right? But that doesn't mean they're not going just full Hillary Clinton on this shit and just smashing shit with fucking hammers, you know? I suppose that's an option. Might be kind of weird if you're just in, like, the FBI building just smashing shit. Like, I'm pretty sure you'd get in trouble for that. But the whistleblower says Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have been made aware of this on Monday, and they were doing something about it. The whistleblower says he's been told by legal counsel to kind of slow his roll so that Kash can get a handle on it. Where this all goes, I would like to see prosecutions. I think we want to see people held accountable so we can understand the holding of some of this information. Now, does that make the release of the flight log list, like, impossible? I don't know. I ain't a fucking lawyer. Like, I want to see people swing, so I would love to see you err on the side of caution to ensure that we can see some people swing, right? That's where I'm going with it. That's my thoughts on it. And I guess what more can we do than trust Kash and Dan and Pam to do the right thing? I think they will. I'm going to hold faith. And I think the rest of you should as well. So good luck to you all. Godspeed to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, and long live this fucking beautiful republic.
Stuck in the middle, I burrow inside, back to the cradle, away from the burdens of all my crimes. Before it's fatal, the bastards found me, the truth's come out. All is remembered, there's no place to fall, but straight down. I will remember, and it seems I finally thought of everything. I wanna love, I wanna feel, I find peace, I find the real. It's the face I put on all my life, the face of an angel. I look in the mirror only to find the face of a stranger. I'm taking a hunger for more, 'cause I'm selfish, and all I'm left with is a crown of thorns.
promise I couldn't keep. I promised myself I wouldn't weep. One more promise I couldn't keep. It seems no one can help me now. I'm in too deep. There's no way out. This time I have really led myself astray. Runaway train, never going back. Wrong way on a one-way track. Seems like I should be getting somewhere. Somehow neither here nor there. Can you help me remember how to smile? Make it somehow all seem worthwhile. How on earth did I get so jaded? Life's mystery seems so faded. I can go where no one else can go. I know where no one else knows. Here I am, just drowning in the rain, with a ticket for a runaway train, and everything seems cut and dry. Day and night, earth and sky. Somehow I just don't believe it. Runaway train, never going back. Wrong way on a one-way track. Seems like I should be getting somewhere. Somehow I'm neither here nor there. Bought a ticket for a runaway train, like a madman laughing at the rain. A little out of touch, little insane. It's just easier than dealing with the pain. Runaway train, never going back. Wrong way on a one-way track. Seems like I should be getting somewhere. Somehow neither here nor there. Runaway train, never coming back. Runaway train, tearing up the track. Runaway train, burning in my face. Runaway, but it always seems the same.
God bless you and welcome to Patriot News Broadcasting, folks. You having a good weekend? Having a good Sunday afternoon? It's kind of cooler out again today, wasn't it? So there wasn't a ton of news today, but there's a few things we'll go over, and then there's some new episodes of stuff we're going to look into. Some really good new 107. Derek Johnson was recently on John Michael Chambers, so I'm going to watch something like that. This was interesting. China discovers limitless energy source that could power the country for 60,000 years, geologists in Beijing claim. I think we're breaking into a new type of future energy war. Basically, what they found was a whole lot of thorium, I think is the article goes on to say, which is basically like a nuclear type material, something like that. Not a geologist, but oh, there you go. Thorium-based nuclear power generation is fueled primarily by the nuclear fission of the isotope uranium. Something like that, but they found a bunch of it, so they say. Here in Illinois, residents who drink tap water could be getting a dangerous cocktail of hundreds of chemicals, heavy metals, and radioactive substances every day. See, we've got it too. It's in our water. Some of the stuff in the city's water, Chicago and Joliet and all kinds of places, cancer-causing contaminants. This one's 140 times past the guidelines, 172 times past the guidelines. It just got worse and worse, basically. So anytime now that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., John F. Kennedy Jr. step in too, but anytime he wants to step in and clean up Illinois' water, please, for the love of God, do it. It's disturbing, really. So Pam Bondi did a short little interview we're going to watch the clip of real quick and talk about the new situation going on here.
Welcome back, America. We're here with, and I'm very excited about this, Attorney General Pam Bondi, a good friend, especially a good friend of my wife, but a wonderful lady, a great lawyer. Welcome to the program, Madam Attorney General. I want to get into this Epstein thing a little bit. I think the American people are very curious about who's on this list. Or these lists. You have been doggedly trying to get all the information. And now we learn, thanks to you, that you've been stonewalled by people in New York. Do you want to explain that?
Yes, Mark. So as you know, we released about 120 pages of documents. And I started asking for these documents right when I came into office and before Kash Patel was in there. So I ended up getting about 120 pages. We carefully redacted them, of course, to be sure the 254 young girls, women who are victims of sex crimes and sex trafficking, their personal information was redacted and out of there to protect them. So I'm going through it and I kept saying, there has to be more. There has to be more. I'm assured that's it. Kash asked the same questions. Assured there's no more. I found out, this week that a source told me New York, SDNY, they're sitting on thousands of pages of documents regarding Epstein. Thousands. And of course, you've seen the very strong letter. We will get everything. We will have it in our possession. We will redact it, of course, to protect grand jury information and confidential witnesses, but the American people have a right to know. And Donald Trump is the most transparent president in our nation's history. So not only will America get the full Epstein files, they will get JFK, they will get Martin Luther King.
Well, that's fantastic, but I assume the Southern District of New York is, or has been, holding on to this information for a reason. That is, they don't like the names on the list. And, of course, we know New York is a hotbed of the Democrat Party, and that includes in legal circles. Do you think that's part of the issue here, that they're trying to protect a lot of names and individuals?
Mark, I have not reviewed the information yet. And as a lawyer, as a prosecutor, I want to review everything before I make a firm conclusion. But I think it's very interesting that they withheld that from us. And I will find out who withheld it, and they will not be working for us anymore.
So once all that's gathered, you're just going to put it out in the public with the obvious necessary redactions, including the people who were the victims and the phone numbers and so forth. But for the perpetrators, I assume that we'll see those names, yes?
Well, certainly. There's nothing can be withheld on that. Of course, as you know, grand jury information, anything confidential will be withheld under the law. And we're going to do everything in our power to protect the victims so they're not further victimized also.
Let me ask you a question kind of in this vein, and it may be too early to know because you just got to the Department of Justice. This guy, Jack Smith, his team of lawyers and so forth and so on, do we know yet, and I happen to know that is a big damn department with a lot of people, and so it just takes time to figure things out, but do we happen to know yet whether they complied with all the requirements of the Presidential Records Act and the Espionage Act? That is, did they store all their materials for you folks to look at when you choose to look at it? Do we know that, or did they remove or destroy any of it?
Mark, that's what we're looking at now. We're going through all of that. And now that I just got Kash Patel in as FBI director, he's, of course, a tremendous help. I've been in office, barely 2 weeks, and it feels like 2 years. We are going nonstop. We will get to the bottom of that. And as you know, the first thing I did was fire the Jack Smith team. That was the ultimate weaponization of our country and our government.
Don't you get a little frustrated, or worse, I would, reading these stories about how...
So it's interesting. Some people don't seem to like Pam Bondi because of her working in Florida during the previous Epstein stuff. Her and Laura Loomer had a little back at it today. Not really, but Pam Bondi blocked her on X for asking a question or something. But then again, when you bring up Laura Loomer, I got to remind you of this video again from last night.
Guys, all over the place. Jack Posobiec, Gabe Hoffman, Mike Cernovich, Laura Loomer. Gabe Hoffman is running ops on people. He is a bad guy, dudes. I look like I've seen a ghost. Yeah, I have. And someone that was very close to me, I'm pretty sure they were just there to infiltrate me. These are really fucking bad people, and I'm beyond pissed. I don't...
Imagine being in that position and never knowing who your friends are. Just wondering if every single person you meet's got an agenda, like they've been hired with an agenda. So, we had this possible and still possible mineral deal with Ukraine. Russia had an interesting proposal of their own with their minerals and making a deal with us.
У нас, безусловно, на порядок, я хочу это подчеркнуть, на порядок больше ресурсов подобного рода, чем в Украине. Россия является одним из безусловных лидеров по запасам этих редких и редкоземельных металлов. Они у нас имеются и на севере, в Мурманске, на Кавказе, в Кабарде-на-Балкарии, на Дальнем Востоке, в Иркутске.
You want minerals, Mr. President? We've got lots of rare earth minerals. Come on in. Need some thorium? China's got plenty. But there's something weird going on with the whole Ukraine situation, and Keir Starmer sort of put himself in the middle of this, and he announced that Britain and France and Ukraine will all collaborate on a ceasefire plan to propose to the United States. Don't you feel like they're prolonging the war once again, or they're trying to start a bigger war? These guys are asshats.
First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security.
Here's the thing. How can they be okay with what's going on over there? Let's talk. We watched yesterday a video of them pulling young men off the streets, just pulling them off the streets to fight in Ukraine. Look at how much money they have to pay if they want to get out of that. I'll show you here.
От я хотів додати по ТЦК. Маю таке повідомлення анонімне. Значить, не від одного знайомого, так мені пишуть, так всі вже небезпечно здають клієнтів, щоб самих не забрали. Є випадки бусифікації без провірок документів або перевіряють в самому бусику. Такса на вулиці $1000. Вийти з ТЦ фірточкою без документів від 5 до 12. Ось така історія на даний момент. Я продовжую підтримувати свою думку, що ТЦК треба розформувати. Це структура організації, яка повністю себе...
Basically what they're saying is if you get picked up by the van off the streets and you want to get out of the van, you can give them $1,000 to get out of the van. If you get taken to the recruitment center, it's $5,000 to $12,000 to get out of having to go fight against Russia. It's absolutely insane. Back here on our side of the world, our special forces are busy with the border.
For the first time ever, News Nation was able to get access, media was able to get access to a specialized operations group within Border Patrol. It's called BORTAC. It's a tactical team. It is an elite unit where they work specifically to target the worst of the worst while also working to save lives. We were there through a hostage simulation that they played out for News Nation exclusively. Again, it was high stakes for these guys. They carry M4s, they use drones, they use a lot of different technology, but their most important tool is their team. There is zero room for error. Take a look.
Our primary mission is those high-value criminal aliens, and we'll do that anywhere.
We train this 365 days a year. This is what we train for. These guys are all invested. They're hand-selected to be here, here at the national team. So what we're trying to do is take away their focus on this side and hit them from this side.
You know, this type of mission set, skill set is zero fail. We go on every op knowing that nothing's going to be perfect and that we're going to have to adjust, and the guys are really good at it. So it's something we take very seriously, and we train constantly. And we're constantly training scenario-based stuff, so we're throwing things at the guys that they haven't seen before. So if they don't see something that they've seen in training or in operation, they are always flexing and getting good at adjusting quickly. And so that skill set plays out to things they haven't seen before. We have our kind of multi-purpose range. The snipers use this a lot. There's targets, I think, that go out to over a mile.
Pretty cool, huh, guys? They're down there going after the worst of the worst of the worst. And really the whole country's busy right now. In Arkansas, they busted 200 plus illegal migrants, 253 charges of various crimes. They were from 23 different countries: India, Laos, Vietnam, Egypt, Nigeria, Mexico, all over the place. And they called it Operation Enforce and Remove, and I don't know, it was going on for about a week. It yielded 472 total arrests. Let's watch a tiny bit of the statement here.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Ross, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas. Today we are announcing the results of Operation Enforce and Remove, an operation over the past 3 weeks, which is the largest collaborative law enforcement effort to enforce immigration laws in Arkansas history. A statewide operation that resulted in the arrest of 219 illegal aliens who unlawfully entered the United States, as well as an additional 253 individuals charged with various crimes to include sexual assault against a minor, aggravated assault, drug distribution, and various firearm offenses. Also, the seizure of nearly 15,000 pounds of illegal drugs worth millions of dollars to include fentanyl pills, fentanyl powder, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana, and 43 guns. This arrest operation involved every federal law enforcement agency operating in Arkansas, as well as the Arkansas State Police and the state's 19 state drug task force offices.
15,000 pounds of drugs. See, that's what's going to have to happen once they get these borders nice and tightly closed off, south and north. Then we got to clean up all the drugs already in the country. Then we'll be set. We could set up recovery centers for people and things like that and end this epidemic forever. The opiate epidemic started in 2010 in my town. Of course, the methamphetamine epidemic, that started in probably 99, 2000, like big time. So be nice to see an end to that crap. So I know there's some crypto changes. You know I don't know a lot about crypto, but Trump posted a U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden admin, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed the Presidential Working Group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, SOL, and ADA. I'll make sure the U.S. is the crypto capital of the world again. We're making America great. And there's a short explanation here.
It's impossible for a layer one blockchain to function as intended
if it's under that type of control. Ripple owns 48% of the XRP escrow. Okay? At dinner, President Trump, Brad, and Stewart agreed to transfer 35 to 40% of the escrow controlled by Ripple, of the XRP escrow, to the U.S. Treasury. 35 to 40 billion of the XRP. This would leave Ripple with approximately 13 to 18 billion XRP, which is way below the 20% mark that allows them to be considered decentralized. But it would still allow them to be the largest corporate holder by far of XRP. Ripple can still be the lender of last resort and all that jazz. Boom. Ripple just solved their largest problem. How the hell do we distribute all this XRP in compliance with applicable laws? This deal will close next week, in Jimmy's opinion. Trump will then revalue XRP at a significantly higher amount than what is currently trading. Remember what happened in 1933 when FDR confiscated the gold and had everybody turn it in, and then he increased the price in gold? This is a gold 33 all over again. We could revalue or re-equitize, if you will, XRP, and Trump could say, oh, just for shits and giggles, let's say it's worth $10,000 a coin. That's what we think the net discounted present value is, based on the value of XRP in the next 20 years, what it's going to do for mankind, and the value of this token. I'm going to deem it $10,000. Trump then has pulled a play from the FDR Depression era playbook. The U.S. Treasury is now sitting on $350 to $400 trillion worth of XRP. The United States, corporation, Russia, China, what if they were to divide up kind of the known global geography?
I wish I understood all that. It sounds like it might be a good time to buy into XRP, but don't, for the love of God, quote me on that one. Sounds fascinating. And other money moves. President Trump freezes 4.6 million credit cards for 30 days. These are government-issued credit cards, and this 30-day freeze is kind of about, making sure that government spending is transparent and accountable. So I suppose they would probably have things to audit or look at there. But no skin off my back. I'm sure the government people are irritated. Like Obama, I think they took away millions Obama was getting for some, it was labeled like Affordable Health Care Act's royalties or some shit. Like, ahead of the layoffs, the Department of Education is offering their employees $25,000 if they quit before tomorrow. So they announced that a few days ago or over the weekend. The message said it's a one-time offer to all staffers ahead of what she called a very significant impending workforce reduction. They're reducing the size of the government, and I don't think it'll ever grow again. Not in that way. Not in the way we think of it. Can you guys imagine one day what it's going to be like? There's a no-fly zone over Mar-a-Lago that people seem to keep breaking. Today it was 3 civilian planes breached the resort airspace, and they had to scramble the F-16s again. Turned out it was no big deal, though. Just people flying their airplanes where they shouldn't be. All right, so with that, folks, let me see if I got anything else I want to show you before we start our videos. That's really about it news-wise, but let's jump into our new Juan O'Savin video, and we'll see where we're at on time. There's lots of good stuff out today, finally, so I'll catch you in the chat.
Hello, everybody. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So while we wait on Juan to come in, he's fashionably late as usual, but, this way Juan rolls. So he's got a lot on his plate, that he shows up at all is good. So we appreciate it. So, Trump, made the promise that he was going to, make things more affordable for Americans. We're looking at the gas prices. I think they're down like $1 from where I'm at. And we're also seeing, it looks like food's a little bit cheaper. Eggs, not so much, but a lot of other things that, Donald Trump, promise is coming out. The things that we're still waiting on, RFK, or JFK, RFK, MLK files, Epstein list. Now, we've heard from Pam Bondi that, the Southern District of New York was sitting on all that stuff, and unbeknownst to Kash Patel. And now we're seeing that it be exposed. I think that is one of the things that is kind of like on the plate right now. The exposure of the deep state assets and still, running the show to a certain extent. The exposing of them and then the firing of them, I think, is going to start happening now. So that's the lower level, upper level type people on the peripheral. They can be dealt with through firings. Now, firing's not a small task for these people, because they have, all kinds of stuff, retirements and so forth, pensions and all that, is off the table if they get fired, I believe. So, or if they're not in the zone of, receiving that, if they're like a few years out, then they're screwed out of that. So those people being fired is going to be pretty significant. Now they're going to do what their masters tell them to do, because they know what the consequences are if they don't. So you make a deal with the devil, and the devil is going to have his due. He's going to come calling, and you have to appease the devil. Otherwise, the devil will, take you out and everybody around you. Now, good people like myself, you get protected by, the good side. And I'm not saying that there's white hats that are going to come and protect me. Maybe that's happening in the background, but I don't know that for sure. But I feel that I'm protected from, positive sources, which I can promise you, I would rather have the positive forces protect me than some of these white hats, although I appreciate any help I can get. Right. So I think that's one of the things that, Juan and a lot of other people are starting to focus on. Now, when I was in the military and in the CIA, of course, intelligence was extremely important for us to accomplish our missions, whether it was hunting down enemies of the United States, which was, when I did the Panama invasion, it was Noriega and his top people. And then when I was in the CIA, it was hunting down the top people that the CIA wanted to take out. And I and my groups were very effective at doing that. So the same thing happened when I was in the military. The groups that I was involved with were very effective in our particular capabilities, but we always, in all of those instances, we depended on good intelligence. Now, Juan obviously has been part of that for most of his career, whatever that is, right? So I can only guess. I have some good ideas. Juan is not going to share those, and it's not my place to share those. But I can tell you that Juan in the past has been involved in missions that I was on, and I found that out when I talked about the Panama invasion. So he talked about how he was obviously there, and some of the intel that we got, especially from the CIA, was not so good. And he has written his books, and he talks about he talks about the farm and the corn. So he jokes the farm by talking about corn, the growers of the corn, because, the farm where FBI or CIA agents are trained is not a real farm. It's basically farming CIA agents. And so obviously, like me, Wine has an issue with the CIA. I think the CIA goes away, and it's being exposed, massively exposed. The IRS, which is an arm of the CIA and the deep state, is, I believe, going away. So just recently, it was exposed that they were asking the CIA for 700,000. ICE was asking 700,000 people that were somehow on their list, where they list that the IRS is paying them, probably, right? As we know the way this works, and the IRS is refusing. So I will say that's just another reason why the IRS has to go away. So Trump is I guess, shutting down. I saw recently 120 IRS offices around the country. I think it's going to get to zero at some point. And we're not going to have an IRS anymore. We won't need an IRS anymore because of cutting all of the waste that's in government. So the government basically has been taking our taxes and distributing them to deep state operations, as we're finding out, the unelected people that run our country. So this is something that's going to stop. Now, if you look at the CIA, FBI, State Department assets, as we just saw recently, USAID, and many other organizations have been involved all the way back. I don't know if USAID was involved in it, but I don't even know if they existed, but JFK assassination. So the shadow government that has been running the show decided that JFK needed to be assassinated because he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. They wanted to, go into Cuba and, take over Cuba, get their casinos going again, and all the money laundering that they were using Cuba for. So what do you think Ukraine is? Ukraine is like the new Cuba for the Central Intelligence Agency, FBI, and all these other Democrat Party and many other organizations that funnel money through Ukraine, Europe, and so forth. Europe, the people that are running Europe right now are basically just the old kings and queens that Europe got rid of because they rose up and pushed them out, right? And sometimes, cut their heads off and all that kind of stuff because they were so corrupt. And they were so fed up with them. So now Europe is like, guys, your prime ministers and most of your presidents, except for Viktor Orban, are corrupt, and they need to be removed. And I don't know how you guys are going to remove them, but you better get busy because they're killing you off, just like they did probably hundreds of years ago when you guys got fed up with the kings and queens of old. Except for Britain. So you guys allow yours to still hang out and stay around. So I don't know. There's other places throughout Europe where there's still kings and queens in the background, princes and princesses and all that kind of stuff. The people still allow that. But I think a lot of that is just so old and so outdated. It just doesn't need to be there anymore. These people are just psychopaths to a T, most of them. And then, of course, we have here in the United States, we have the kings and queens here in the United States, which are the Rockefellers and the Bush, the Clintons, the unelected people within those political families that keep the show going in the background. The Bidens, you name it, political family, pretty much. They are corrupt, just like the kings and queens of old that we did away with, but they just get replaced by another entity. So this is something that's being exposed, and as more of this gets exposed, we'll just continue on. So I don't know where Juan is. So 1111, angelic number. Maybe this is the time when he pops in, but so my wife Tracy is coming in the room. Maybe she's going to give me an update on wine not being here. Mm-mm. So I guess she's going to go check now. All right. So, 1111. It is angelic number. It's beautiful. And 911 or 811, where you're at, California. So Juan said he's running 10 minutes late. Actually 11. Somebody's coming. All right. So I'll hold the fort down until he shows up. Calvary. So we'll continue to talk about the evil people that are running the show. So the Rockefellers, in Europe we have the Rothschilds. These families are basically have taken over. From the elite. They're basically the same thing. You're saying like the kings and queens of old, political parties. They have these self-appointed rulers. They try and point out Trump as being he wants to be king. So whenever you see them do that, it's them basically trying to because this is one of their techniques they're the ones that are the problem that do that. They're the racist. They are the ones that are fascist. On and on. All these things that they say that Trump is, King Trump and all that kind of stuff, they are, right? So whoever's throwing that garbage at Trump, our elected, we the people elected him, then it's showing us who they are. So whoever does that, instantly that they're part of the deep state. If you're on the Trump team, if you're MAGA, Make America Great Again, and of course, Trump is trying to make the world great again. And one of the ways he's going to do that, he's going to go after illegal and which I think is illegal, trade practices. And he's going to do that with the tariffs, which start early next week. Now, what is that going to do to the markets? Remains to be seen, but the markets are super overvalued right now. There's only a few times in history where they've been overvalued at this point. So the price of these stocks and so forth, if you go all the way back to 1929, if you go to 1999, if you go to 2008, all these points where the market crashed are points that our market is right now and even higher, right? So overvaluation of stocks is where we're at right now. And every time it's happened on this level, there's been a massive crash. So we have housing, we have mortgage, people applying for mortgages at the lowest it's ever been in the last 30 years when they started taking accountability of people applying for mortgages. Of course, there's a lot more people now, so you would think that would be up on average, but it's even the lowest it's ever been. So we're going to see another, not only stock market crash, but just like in 2008, a housing crash. So a double whammy for the economy. Now, this has been overvalued. So we want these to come back to normalization. But a lot of people are going to get, burned by it because they bought at the height of these bubbles, massive bubbles. It's the biggest bubbles in history are right now on the stock market and housing in history. So we'll see these bubbles pop, super bubbles, not just a bubble, super bubbles. And when a super bubble pops, it lets out a lot of stinky air, right? There's been a lot of stinky air went into this bubble. Gross manipulation. Now, will this bubble continue to grow? It's possible. It may grow into we just saw a few percentage pullback and everybody's all nervous. But it is a few percentage is nothing. 20% is normal. But at some point, we'll see a 90% like we saw in 1929. That'll get everybody's attention, won't it? Now, crypto and all these other super bubbles, the crypto price just barely went above the all-time high of last time. Now, normally crypto like goes up 5x. So last time it was, I think 67, 69, something like that. And so far it's only gone up to like, I think about 109, 110. So that's not even doubling. And so a lot of people are still, believing that crypto is going to go up. Well, crypto has never been in a recession like we are in right now. They're manipulating all of the numbers. Now that Trump administration is in, we're going to start to see real numbers. And we saw some real numbers in the last week or so, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's Trump's economy." Well, Trump has only been in office, a little over a month, 2 months or something like that, a couple months, if that, not even 2 months. So everybody's going to blame everything on Trump, but this was going to happen whether Trump came in or not, because they were planning on crashing this market. Now, usually the reason why someone stays in office or not is because of the economy. So they crashed the economy last time with COVID. And then Trump was out, and they used that as an excuse to say, look, Trump needs to go because the economy is crashing. It's his fault that we had COVID, but we know they planned it, right? They planned it ahead of time. They even said that Trump would have, Fauci even said it, that Trump would have a pandemic. Of course, he said a pandemic, but a pandemic. He said it before Trump even got in office. So they're telling you what's coming. They told us that we'll see another pandemic that's even worse than the last one. That's from Bill Gates himself. All right. So here's one. Hey, Juan, how's it going?
Hey, bro, how you doing?
Very good, very good. So kind of start a little bit before you. So just telling everybody about, Trump's achievements so far. Gas prices are down. Groceries are starting to come down. All the things he promised. We know the situation with the JFK, RFK, MLK, and of course Epstein files. That's a deep state basically playing their games, and they're being exposed for that. So what are your, thanks for coming on, and how are you doing before we start off?
Well, I got to tell you, anybody that is not to upstairs, it'll probably be useful to put it in the park. I wanted to, there we go. All right. I change cars so often, farm
I
truck.
know.
I don't use it very often, but I love this truck, by the way.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've got a couple of them, and they just, in fact, I'll tell you, that one there, that's got 250,000 miles on it. And I'm just astonished every time I drive it. I go, this sucker is just, you can't tell the difference from the day that I drove it off the lot. It's, maintenance. I mean, you got a lot of stuff you got to do, but it just holds up fantastically. And we use the tow trailers and stuff like that around quite a bit. And it just is a great truck. So, and by the way, a lot of it's American built, so it qualifies for a bunch of stuff. So even though they want to make a big stink about it, it's Toyota as a manufacturer, but very
American-made parts,
American-made on stuff and like that. And Japan, that's a big thing about Japan. They're our closest ally, really, and they've worked hard to align themselves with us and not to fight us, to try to work with us in order to get that market share and like that, a lot of American work. So and I will add this, just thinking about this moment in history, Toyota actually has, the Japanese adopted so many American ways. they just loved the American businessman. There's certainly plenty of stuff to not love that we wish they wouldn't try to emulate. But on the whole, that was kind of the whole thing. They wanted to be efficient, work hard, and MacArthur, with the work that he did, really helped the Japanese people to find themselves again. You know, the devastation after the war, lots of cities that burned to the ground because they were, they were just paper cities, wood and like that. They burned easily, and the people were very devastated. And yet they came back from that. There used to be a joke in the late 50s, early 60s about, stuff that came out of Japan, kids' toys, and they wouldn't hold up very well and stuff like that. But then they got they don't have a lot of resources within the country, not huge forests they can, rotate and cut down and things like that. So they had to make the people fit what they had. And so, they got into intricate, tiny things, import all the stuff to make cameras and lenses, lots of different things that they became world leaders in a lot of that stuff. And, the cars, the early cars, people kind of railed against them. But, I had a Honda back in the 70s, in the early 70s. And that thing, the only thing that would ever break on those things was the fuel filter. It'd get clogged with some dirty stuff and car wouldn't run right. It just ran and ran. I sold it with like 90,000 miles on it and still ran good. And the kid that I sold it to still had it, a decade later and had like 300,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And if you think of what happened within American car manufacturing, there's a moment that we lost our way in that period. And the cars just got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Well, Japan was building a car that fit the times. They already were building pretty good gas mileage cars. We came into the high-priced gas. The insurance companies refused to cover convertibles, and so they stopped making the convertibles, claiming they're all, unsafe. And it was really a ploy. It just was expensive on the assembly lines to make these convertibles. And so we got challenged. I remember I had a really rare, I think it was a 1980 Monte Carlo. And it had the reason I bought it was just kind of interesting, had a Buick engine in it. And it was turbocharged. So it was the fastest car in the Chevrolet lineup next to the Corvette.
Wow.
And it was a cool car. It was kind of a reddish orange, T-tops. And I just got it because it was a very fun car. But the thing is, the car, when you looked at it, and I was going to doll it up. I wanted to do some things with it because it's such a rare car. And you looked at all the gaps on the car. It was horrendous. I don't mean just bad. It was beyond bad. The gaps literally would be an inch in one place and a quarter of an inch someplace else and barely touching. And that was from the factory. Car had never been whacked or wrecked or like that. And our car manufacturing had gone completely to hell, really. And there was a commercial about that time, maybe just a year or two later, for one of the cars that was coming out, and it was out of Japan, and they took a ball bearing and they put it on the seam, I think up at the front of the hood, and they had the car in kind of a rotisserie plate that could go all different directions, and you watch the ball bearing slide down the gap, slide up another part, slide around another part, and the ball bearing wouldn't drop through the crack. It was just perfectly, every seam, every part was so perfectly matched to the next part, and the gaps were all perfect. And anybody that's like a body repair guy or something like that, they would know what I'm talking about, how hard it is. I have, classic cars, and one of the things that I look at when I'm buying them, if somebody's done some restoration or something like that, I look at the gaps. Are the doors on the car square? Are they cockeyed? How much skill did the guy have to do? Are the door hinges worn out? Did they get the trunk lid on straight? If it's not straight, is it because the car was in a wreck and it wasn't correctly fixed? Things like that. So it tells you a lot about how the car was maintained or repaired or built in the first place. In the 80s, American cars the factories had gotten so sloppy, and then the employees didn't have really pride of ownership. One of the NFL stars used to brag when he was a kid, before he got on one of the teams, that he worked at Cadillac factory, and so his big funny joke was to put a nut on a heavy nut on a piece of fishing line and hang it inside the door of the car, and then seal everything up. So that as people are driving around, if you hit a bump just right or did a turn just right, you'd hear it rattling around in there. If you took the door panel off, you wouldn't easily find what the issue was. And the issue was, here's this guy's being a jokester, putting a nut on a fishing line to cause grief to whatever the person was, even the manufacturer and all that. At one level, yeah, I can laugh at it. Another level, how many people, somebody spends a huge amount of money, they save, they take out a mortgage their life to get the car of their dreams, and then they got this annoyance that's there. There wasn't pride of ownership. There was a lot of things. I commented between one manufacturer and the other. I'm kind of a Ford guy, and even up in, I think it was 89, I bought a Aerostar for one of the projects I had going. And then at the same time, for another business, I bought a brand new Blazer. Every possible option on both cars. They even had Aerostars didn't have sunroofs at the time. I wanted a sunroof, so I had it added from a private manufacturer. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that the way the windows rolled up with the electric windows, the Chevrolet, oh my gosh, it took like eternity for the window to go up and down. And here you got to go off road and stuff like that. At like 50,000 miles, just the few times I took it out hunting and like that, the windows weren't working right. And I mean, this is a car that it sits in the garage, it's taken care of, it's babied. I got a winch on and stuff like that. I used it half dozen times. And with the windows, not only are they slow, they would break easily, and you'd have to take it in and have the whole thing torn apart. It was never right when you got it back. The Aerostar, that thing went up and down at light speed, like a Trump elevator. We kid about it when we're in Vegas. The elevators at the Trump, it takes the same amount of time to go 64 floors as it does across the street at one of the mall locations to go 3 floors. It's so slow. But the reason I say that is because Ford didn't take the ownership or didn't take the money that was being offered for government loans and grants and all that. They did it on their own. Chrysler had come in and taken all the government money. They paid it all back. But there was just things were falling on their ear because we just weren't doing it right. If you didn't have, and by the way, just thinking about this time in history, where America is really at a crossroads and having to pull things back together again. Lee Iacocca was a friend, and he was the guy over at Ford that championed the Mustang through and worked with Shelby to get the Shelby through, because he knew that what won on Sunday sold on Monday. And so he wanted to, go after that youth market and like that. But he came over to Chrysler, and for those that don't remember, he also enticed Shelby to make a Shelby over at Chrysler with the front wheel drive. And he worked through and made the K car chassis, and it was inexpensive. It was lighter weight. It was unibody, and the intent was to make a car that was reasonably priced for the average person that could afford to do it. And it was pretty straightforward. They didn't overdo it on all the frills. The Japanese cars at the time were pretty inexpensive, and he was really not competing with Chevrolet, and he wasn't competing with all the downline brands, Pontiac and Oldsmobile and Buick. He was competing with Japan. And for all that we kind of kidded about it at the time, I have a K car. It's one of my cars. It's a 86 turbocharged 4-cylinder. It'll get out of its own way. It actually goes. It's pretty peppy. It's a convertible. It's got the wood grain sides on it, which is hilarious. The Continental kit on the back. It looks, but they threw everything at these things. And Japan was not putting out a bigger car at that time. And people in America, we drive long distance, and you got the kids. You got a lot of stuff to put in it. The American station wagon really was not fitting the market anymore. People wanted to sit a little higher, be in the car in a different way, and you still had to have lightweight. So they came up with a Caravan. They innovated. They were getting killed in Detroit by Japan, a strong competitor that was doing a great job. All over the world, people are building stuff, doing things, being innovative, and America has been losing its way for quite a while. And this is the moment where, with the tariffs up, it gives a little bit of breathing room for American corporations, not to just stuff the money in their pocket, but to compete against these low-priced locations where, practically slave labor stuff, not so much Japan, because their stuff is pretty expensive. And they've gone to American side, and they've built amazingly good stuff. Same thing with Korea. But we're being challenged to raise the bar and go back to American exceptionalism.
Yep.
And in the 50s and 60s, I had a friend that was the largest car dealer in the world back in the 50s. And super guy. One of the things that he complained about was the way that people weren't taking serious our role in the car industry. He got out of the car industry in the late 50s because Detroit just wasn't paying attention, and it was frustrating to him. And went and did other stuff that was better business wise, and on to the next thing type of thing. But we have this moment in history where, instead of like the Jimmy Carter attitude, go put on a cardigan sweater, turn down the heat, America's greatest days are behind it, and we have to, get used to that and blend into the rest of the world and be just like everybody else. No, we're going to make America great again, and that means manufacturing. Things I've been on for the last couple of weeks is if you're going to manufacture, you got to have the raw materials. Well, America has raw materials, but we've been shut off from them in all sorts of areas. Mining, you start out with, the raw stuff to make your components. Well, China came in and shut us down. They used their slave labor and went in and, literally attacked a lot of countries on their production, including the U.S. And a lot of our mining just plain shut down. Tungsten, which is critical for military components and high-tech stuff, components in manufacturing. Well, we had the best system in the world for mining these materials. China came in, put spies in our mining industry, figured out how we were leaching out all these materials out of the scheelite in order to manufacture tungsten, and literally took over the tungsten market so rapidly that when the American mines were shut down, people got their pink notices mid-morning, and they just shut down mines across the country that have been around forever. People had no concept this was about to happen. It just happened so instantaneously. It dropped the price so hard, and when the manufacturers like Union Carbide looked at it, they said, the price dropped so precipitously because China has just come into the market with their mining. They didn't see it coming, and it's not going to change anytime soon. So to cut the bleeding, they literally just let people off mid-morning one day, middle of the week, and they came into office. They had no idea, another day, working hard, going to go take care of the kids this afternoon, blah, blah, gone. And those industries never came back. They closed all of the factories. And in fact, then the other thing that's disgusting about it was our own agencies, BLM and Forest Service, said, well, these mines are never, ever coming back. So you're going to have to dismantle everything and return these mines back to, and the areas around them back to their natural state. So huge processing plants with all of the equipment inside that was extremely complex to build, the pummels to break up the hard rock, the conveyor systems, all that stuff. They took it all out, the buildings, things like that. And where did they sell it as scrap metal? China. Give me a break. So China got all our stuff at next to nothing prices, literally the value of scrap metal, hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment in every facility, and they were just gutted, and then the buildings torn down, so that if you ever wanted to come back and go back and start mining tungsten, for example, you'd have to start from scratch practically. You'd have to go get the engineering reports, get through all of the government red tape. Are you going to, hurt wildlife or something like that, mining for these things? Even though it's a crucial military component for all things military, for tungsten, you just had to, start from scratch if you ever wanted to do it again. Titanium, the Russians were building or mining all the titanium, and we don't have a working mine in North America. And we have lots of titanium. We just got cut off from it because, it's too expensive to go mine and hard and like that. And they were beating us on price. Why would we do it? When we were building the YF-12 and the SR-71 back in the early 60s, while we're in a Cold War with Russia, we had to get all our titanium to build those aircraft from Russia. How dense is that? Okay. Anything goes wrong, no more titanium for you guys. It just it was crazy. But that's what Trump is coming in and attacking, is that we're going to, for example, in the mining and the oil and gas, we're not going to get it out of the Mideast. We're not going to pay people that are bad guys to go do this stuff. Even this last week, it was actually last month, but especially this last week, you may have seen that there was 70 Christians in Republic of Congo that were beheaded.
Wow.
About 10 days. And
I
this
didn't
has
see
been
that.
going
Wow.
on. Yeah, this has been going on for a couple of years. What the deal is there is the Biden administration was actually encouraging. You gotta hear what I'm saying. They were encouraging China with some of its policies and the way they did stuff backdoor to assist groups that are tied to ISIS to go take over the mining in Republic of Congo. Well, what the hell was going on there? In fact, and this is not public. I'm gonna tell you something. This just irks me so bad. So I'm dealing with key people inside Congo, and one of the guys is a very, very, very high official. And he's relating stuff that they had tried to do to, work with the Biden administration. And the person in the ambassador's office that they're assigned to work with there in the Congo is having sex parties with little kids that are being brought in, total pedophiles. And they made little complaints here and there a little bit and got slapped down. And it's an open secret there in the Congo amongst all people that the people are dealing with are perverts. Okay. Eventually they end up leaving, and our embassy there is in, tough shape as we get into all this stuff. And the Chinese are working through Rwanda next door and trying to cause unrest in the Congo in order to get there to get the mineral rights. Well, what minerals do they have there that could be that big of a deal? It's a little country in the middle of Africa. They have probably the largest readily accessible cobalt reserves in the world, and a number of other very important minerals. Well, you need that for everything, computer, semiconductors, everything else. It's a very key mineral. And so the Republic of Congo, the people there are part of what's happened with this Christian revival across Africa. But especially Uganda and that area around it, and Republic of Congo is right next door. And so to stop that and to get the people compliant and to go along with what they want to do, China's been in the back door helping some of these guerrilla groups that are tied to ISIS. And so it's this ISIS crowd that wants to push people out of these mining areas by doing these atrocities and scaring them. So literally in the last week, somewhere around 100,000 people have gone in Uganda and into Burundi. Burundi is one of the poorest countries in the world, but they've taken these refugees, most of them Christians, Catholics. 45% of the population of the Republic of Congo is Catholic. About 50% is Protestant, and then there's 5% that are miscellaneous. So they've had to flee these northern areas of the country, and then ISIS took prisoner a couple thousand police officers reportedly. We're trying to deal with what's going to happen with them to get them loose. If you don't have police officers, you don't have control of the country. And right this second, all of the leadership, because they can't protect themselves, and because of these policies coming back from the Biden administration, and actually all the way back to Obama, they're in instant physical danger if these guys out of Rwanda are able to get to the capital. Probably all that leadership will just get killed. And so many of them are right on the edge to bug out and have to go someplace to save themselves and their families, which you can completely understand. And the question is, what can this administration do to stop this? Trump has zero interest in getting into a war, trying to stop wars and all the killing that is going on here. This has been going on for quite a while, but it suddenly has escalated. And part of the reason is China wants to make their move as quick as they can, distract Trump from other places that he's doing stuff that's hurting him. But also, I think the intent is that they want to get in control. It's a lot harder to kick somebody out that's already embedded deep and taking control. So we're right at this precarious moment where the administration has to make some choices what to do. There's, a need for good communications. They don't have communications with their military and police that's adequate. They need overheads, probably Reaper drones, and be able to see these movements, have the satellite overheads. And then they need the optics to China and everybody else, and especially to ISIS, yeah, no, we're not going to stand by and let this happen. Other countries in the region that are even otherwise kind of friends of the U.S. have just kind of looked at it and gone, it's going a certain way. I don't think we're going to beat this, so better get along and go along than get hit, because these people are being funded from outside, and they've got, kind of a plan with ISIS and like that. And so for optics purposes, it's going to be necessary for this administration probably to do something pretty significant. They'll have to send a Tiger team over, try to get a handle on where the government is right now, get some communications going internally, and then telegraph to China that if they're going to help ISIS, we're going to have a problem here. And we'll find a way to make it hurt bad enough that they back off. And then to ISIS, there's probably no real negotiating. It's like what Trump did in the first place. He's just going to have to do something where we go in and kick their ass. And those people that have had the taste of blood, if they're whacked out enough, they got to go chop off the heads of, church people, and targeting them specifically. That's a bridge too far. So going to have to go make sure we put a missile or two up somebody's ass, just at the right place, and make sure they understand it. Early on, just a few days into this administration, there was one of the Somali warlords that was causing a problem and was tied, indirectly to this stuff going on up in Republic of Congo. And he's hiding in a cave, doing all his plots and schemes and communicating and getting everybody doing whatever. Well, we knew where he was. Shoot, the Biden administration knew where he was. And we weren't about to let him get out and actually kill Americans and do other stuff that he had in mind. So Trump had somebody walk over, talk to the people there in Somalia, and say, hey, we got a problem with this guy. You got a problem with us taking him out? No, whatever you want to do. Yes. A few hours later, kaboom, that guy was gone. We can do that with these ISIS jerks over in the Republic of Congo, do a little bit of optics, stabilize the situation, make it so people don't have to leave. And then just like we were looking at, we're not going to come in here for free and free Ukraine. You got yourselves into this mess. You want to work with us. You can pay us back with resources we need. But you're going to have to fix your own country. They want $1 trillion from America. They want $1 trillion to rebuild Ukraine. They've started out, 300 billion, 450 billion. And then when you actually look at it, well, to start, and then the rest of it over time to rebuild Ukraine, then what's the cost to us to that money? We're going to go take a loan out from the Federal Reserve or something, to rebuild Ukraine from this whole fiasco. Are you kidding me? That's part of the whole thing that was going on, the other day with Trump in that meeting. He was going to let them pay with their resources. And we'd be the market. They could sell it to us, and we'd make sure the place stayed secure. They didn't really like that deal. And there was a number of Obama advisors that were advising Zelensky not to make the deal with Trump. That was going on in the background. They're going to have a bad hair day here shortly, because that is illegal, what they did, most likely. And I suspect you're going to see a handful of Obama people that have been meddling all the way along get their heads handed to them on a plate. Justice Department's going to show up and we've got a room. It's not a view room. I hope you're not upset. It's an interior room here at Gitmo. But if you're really well behaved over time, give us everything. Maybe you'll get a view for the next 20 years of your life. It's
Lovely.
And the same here in Republic of Congo, those people that are involved there. And then I hope there needs to be a investigation of what the was going on over at the embassy in Republic of Congo for the last decade. Every last person that served there, top to bottom, what was going on. And several of them are going to want to be whistleblowers and tell us what they know, that they weren't necessarily the bad people, but they knew what was going on in there. And, choke China off. But, this is the stuff that we're doing. It's America doing stuff that America's done before. We'll stop the mischief and make an even playing field. We're going to turn back our own resources here. And then those people that want to work with us, that want to be strategic partners, that want to help their people out, we'll do business with them. But we're not going to do it where we're paying to do it. They got something to offer. Well, we're buyers. And they don't want to work, or they don't want to work with us. They just want to hand out, hit the road, jerk. So anyway.
Nice. So I loved your beginning with the cars, because I owned the Ford Mustang convertible for a while, and Ford.
What year? What year?
Yeah, exactly. What year? So it was a fixer repair daily Ford car. Like you talk about exceptionalism, they could make a beautiful car, but it didn't have the real value.
Well,
so then I traded my Ford for eventually for a Range Rover, but it was made by Ford too. So it became a fixer repair daily car until Tata Motors took over Range Rover. And I've owned 2 Range Rovers high end since then, and they've been absolutely phenomenal. No repairs at all for last 15 years that I've had Range Rover. So it's a really good car.
Well, they got a little bit of an issue in the transmission and some areas in there. Jay Leno did a special thing one time looking at it, and it was like, oh my gosh. So they've had their little ups and downs too, but then they went and repaired that because I think they got embarrassed to death on it. But that's another thing. The Jaguar, they had lost their way in that same time period. Ford came in, Jaguar got them to help with problems in the early 90s. Then Ford, somewhere in there, decided they were going to buy Jaguar and revamp stuff. And so I think they bought them in 97. And they had helped with a body design and like that, and some Ford components. And by 2000, if you look at the Jaguars, they had worked out most all of the real major issues, the Lucas wiring, the brake systems, the body fit, stuff like that. And you get to 2000 or so, and all of a sudden the cars just became phenomenal. So I've got a 2000, I think it's 2001 XKR, which was right in that era. And I've put just shy of 200,000 miles on it. The only thing I've ever done to the car, tires, brakes, I had one connection issue inside of the brain for the brakes. Apparently it was a bad solder joint. And so the guys would take it off and open it up and fix it. From Jaguar, it's like a $2,000 part. If you knew what the problem was, it was a 2-hour repair, take it apart, resolder one little piece and put it back together again. And that's what I had done. And, so when you think of the stories about Jaguar, and it's all great and everything else, but you got to repair it and tune it and do stuff over and over and over. It's just a nightmare to get a mechanic that wants to work on it. I can tell you, I had all sorts of friends just warned me. They just knew it was going to be horrible. You're making a mistake. It's stupid. Why would you buy that thing? It's one of my favorite cars. Absolutely. It drives so good. It's got great collision protection. It drives like it's heavier than it truly is. It's a rocket ship. Oh my gosh. You could get tickets to put you away for a long time very easily in it.
Right.
And I think it's just fantastic art. But then again, they've, as they got it sorted out, then about 2007 or 8, I think they bought themselves back out from Ford and went on their own way again. And they've been okay, but I don't think they've been as great a cars in most ways since then. So there's a sweet spot on the Jags from about 2000 to 2006. They were stunning. In fact, there's a 2006 that I've been watching for one to show up. They only made a limited number of them. And every once in a while you'll see one pop up, but the guys are pretty proud, so I have to walk away. Go buy a fire truck instead.
Now your mastery of the cars are incredible. Now your Bentley, made in England.
Yeah,
they've been able to keep that. Now the Jaguar and the Range Rover, they lost it for a period of time because they lost their exceptionalism in those cars. And the same thing with America. I think the tariffs will help America get their exceptionalism back. Is that kind of where you were going with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, people think that we can't. There's this thing like it's all over, and we just have to accept that our role in the world has gone down and like that. I think that mindset is programming. Somebody's trying to mess with you. You mentioned the Bentleys. I got a couple of them convertibles. One of them has a BMW motor, I believe, in it that's turbocharged, and they did a deal with that for a while back in the late 90s. And then the Continental, that's actually a Volkswagen motor. It's two 6 cylinders side by side that are mated together by VW, all the components and all that. And so it's a V12 and rocket ship, and that car is stunning. I mean, you just can't really get your mind around. I had it sitting beside one of my vets the other day, and I was looking at the profile, and I had never really thought about it because it's such a big car. It's heavy. It's 6,200 pounds, all-wheel drive. We made just a couple minor modifications. It'll do 200, and 203 with top up, 193 with the top down. Yeah, it's just stunning on how much performance it has. But it's other people's stuff that they cobbled together to make it do what it does, and then the car is just amazing how smooth, and you can go 150 and it'd be like going 95 and anything else. It just is quiet, smooth, glass smooth. It's an amazing car. The reason I say that is because most of the engineering help that went to Bentley in that era was coming out of the U.S. And it was our technology, our expertise that they were buying on the cheap to fix over there, in part because America was raising the bar too. And if you look at American cars from about 2010 forward, they made another big leap there to really start pulling their act back together for a little bit. And then they just froze in place. And the interior started to go back down again and get so. They were cheapening just to stay competitive. What Trump's doing with the tariffs is going to make it hard to come in and use cheap labor to flood our markets with other people's goods, which means our American workforce isn't working. We're going to get our American workforce working, and we're starting all the way back at mining, oil and gas. The world runs on oil, whether you like to hear that or not. So energy makes the world go round, and it's oil primarily in this era that does that, and it's the most cost-efficient way of doing it. And even the electric, I have we did a free Tina Peters thing a couple weeks ago, and you live streamed that. We're doing one based on what's going on over at Maui, and then Paradise and Palisades fires. And in that, you're also going to hear about fires that happened where these lithium mining locations are in various parts of the world. where the same technology, military technology, was used to start fires to burn the forest off of an area that they need to mine for lithium. Well, that's for these electric cars. And even this situation over in the Congo, they need the cobalt for the electric cars and a component of that. And so saying that these cars are green and everything else, crap, you can't put them in a landfill because they're hazardous waste. Saying that we can't make a clean, efficient gas or other materials, propane and natural gas, things like that, car is silly. Even the hydrogen, we can do that pretty efficiently. I think that's where it ultimately goes, and for different reasons. But long and short of it is we're going to get America working again. Energy is the key to everything. It's going to focus.
That's what's really going to drop the inflation rate, bringing the energy back. And you talked about how Japan basically was making cars here, and Spartanburg. I'm from South Carolina.
At oil and gas costs.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then
everything starts at oil and gas costs because that's your basic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you talked about Japan bringing back or not bringing back, but having plants here and all the parts that are made for a lot of the vehicles. The BMW, did Spartanburg plant. I'm from South Carolina, so that was a big 11,000 people put to work and billions of dollars spent on that plant. So that kind of investment, I think that's kind of what Trump wants, but he wants ultimately American exceptionalism come back. We have really lost a lot of businesses especially over the last 4 years.
Well, and it's not just the business, it's also the mentality of the people involved. We got with the COVID and everything else, and people went and worked from home and things weren't working right. And then the government was paying a huge amount of money out for people not to work. And so you kind of got to kick everybody in the ass. It's time to get back. And you know what? People are happier when they get a chance to go out and apply themselves. And I think it's healthy for what's going on in America. And then, but the other thing is not to have your energy you're working like a slave dog, and then you're paying all these taxes, and for what? I mean, actually know a number of people, and I myself did too for a period of time, who divested of stuff they were doing. Companies just stopped working. It just didn't pay enough to make it worthwhile. You're looking at a company that had a greenhouse operation, mom and pop operation, 12 employees, very well respected, 30 years in the business in this particular town. And when it came time for the kids to, take over the business and run it, they ran it for about 2 years and says, you know what? All the money we got to pay in taxes, supervising all the employees. You're the social worker. You're the tax consultant. You got to take care of the medical. And then, something isn't covered by the medical and you got to help out because they're, worked with you forever and everybody owes. And at a certain point, a couple of years in, they said, you know what, it just doesn't pencil. We're barely breaking even. And, they had one thing happened with a slip and fall thing, and it threatened to go past what their insurance could do, and like that. And they just said, we're done closing it up. And I just went by it the other day, and the property's for sale. It's been for sale for a couple of years, and it's in an area where it should go for pretty good money, but they just done. Everything's rotten into the ground. That's happened in businesses all across the country, just like the mines. They just shut them down and walked away. They paid the property taxes, but they couldn't sell the mines, because they were being forced to remediate them back to the original condition before they began mining. So nobody wanted to buy these amazing properties because the cost to rehabilitate them was going to be fantastical. And then on top of that, so they were really just buying them for the scrap value of the buildings and materials on the property. But then after you get the whole thing cleared off, what are you going to use it for? BLM and Forestry Service are going to come in and just eviscerate you for anything you want to do. They got to prove it. It's got to, you can't even let people go ride their bikes or ski on the area without, every little thing being looked at. So that kind of attack, shoot, you have this expensive property and they're in family trusts and things like that, and they can't even sell them in reality because they're just, unless you want to give it away. And a lot of them got given away. Literally just for the scrap value of the buildings on the land, thousands of acres of amazing properties. So with what Trump's doing, he's going to make mining great again in America.
Good.
Small, medium, large gold miners and silver miners. He's going to make going after oil and gas. With the technology we have now on oil drilling and gas drilling, for example. I was with a friend. His factory makes these drilling rigs for oil and gas drillers. And he can do from the bed of 2 semi-trucks what they used to do with these huge derricks. And they're not that expensive compared to the prior, previously you might have to spend $30 million on a drilling rig that's very expensive to move around. You can spend 5 to 10 million now, and you can go down 5 miles. Think about that, 25,000 feet. And you can go 5 miles in any direction. So you can put a little teeny postage stamp down and access oil and gas up to 5 miles away underground from the bed of or from a semi truck trailer. The footprint, the stuff on the surface is very, very minimal. And then the reason why being able to go laterally like that is so important, because I don't have to build roads out to all the different areas that I want to go drill down to. So the impact on the surface is relatively modest. And then, the fracking is still going on, and there is some valid concerns on the fracking in certain areas. But because of what Trump's doing in opening areas up, we have lots of areas you don't have to frack to get the oil and gas. Crap, it's, in very easily accessible conditions, closed off from those areas. And so we're having to go to more exotic ways to get oil out of some of these areas. He's going to open all that back up like he did before. And we'll be able to get that oil and gas pretty readily and pretty cheaply. The Alaska pipeline literally rusting into the ground. Phenomenal feat. They cried and moaned and groaned about how it was going to destroy these animal populations when they put this pipeline in, and the migration routes and everything else. You kidding? That's where all of the moose and caribou, everybody else wants to be up there. The bears, everybody want to be up there near the pipeline because it's a little bit warmer.
And
it's
protected, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's protected. They all hang out along that. They run drones up and down the pipeline all the time, and it's just like, it's like going to Disneyland for animals. They just love it along that whole stretch. And but they wouldn't let them go drill stuff. Again, they need a postage stamp type pad up in the tundra, where it's not really bothering anybody. There's nothing there that you're threatening or like that. But they've made it like we're somehow, hurting the world by getting oil and gas up in that area. You just got to get over it. We need energy. Energy is what allows us to live a modern lifestyle. And so Trump's going to crack it all open again, and where it's the most cost effective and the least damaging, we're going to go to those areas, and we're not going to listen to these idiots, especially out of England. That's where the green movement is really coming from, is the royal families, because they want you to keep going to their locations for energy, and then they want you to pay a tax on anything you do, a carbon tax for life. And it goes sifted through all the various little operations back to a few key families. It's a bullshit operation. Trump's going to go tear it apart. Took us out of the Paris Accords. Get the country working again. And that's what all those executive orders and executive actions is all about. You couldn't legislate it because too many people are on the payroll and they've got all their little things. You just got to come in and start lopping stuff off and trimming it back. It's just like going in the garden. You go in and do some heavy pruning, and you come back later in the year. It's pretty doggone good. You come back a couple years later, and it's just like, wow, it's unbelievable, because you put the growth back into the roots and into the main body of the plant. That's what's got to happen here in America. We're just going to do some pruning and get it working right again, and you're going to have lots of fruit.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Now, yeah, you mentioned Europe. Europe is, they cozied up to, Ukraine, and that's going to cost them. Trump is basically going to pull away from that completely, and Europe, they're taxing their people to death. You got the carbon tax, you got the value added tax. It's out of control over there. And now they're going to be the sole funder of Ukraine. Zelensky, basically shutting down his government and going after the political competition. And basically, I think they just jailed a political opponent. It's insane. Now Russia's just going to go through Ukraine like a hot knife through butter. It's just going to be pretty bad.
Well, it's Trump wants to save life, and that's why what was supposed to happen the other day was we do a ceasefire. Everybody agrees to ceasefire, and then we'll start working through the details. In the meantime, while we're working through it, nobody's dying. Okay, we'll work through what makes sense and come up with a plan. And Trump would strong arm Putin and strong arm Zelensky and get to a deal, as opposed to having 2,000 people a week dying or more. And but the people behind Zelensky's just a puppet. He's just a pawn. He's as much a pawn as Obama ever was, and that whole crew. The reason there's a war there at all really comes down to the fucking Brits. And I love the people, by the way, but their government is like our government has been under Biden and Obama, like that. It's out of control. It's insane. And they don't want Russia to compete in Europe with oil and gas. Remember, they had the pipelines, and they had to blow those suckers to smithereens so they could never come back. When you stop flowing the oil and gas, the pipeline deteriorates internally. And probably most of what was there is junk now. You'd have to start from scratch again. And so mission accomplished. Why? Because the Brits want you to get oil and gas from the North Sea. They want it to be through their friends and partners in the Mideast that they've blessed and decided that it's okay to get oil and gas. They want to control the flow of oil and gas to Europe for the next 100 years. Cash cow for them. And other things, the British Commonwealth. What's the deal with Canada becoming the 51st state? Well, they're a member of the Commonwealth. So the Queen and the family have all this property. Elizabeth, or Lizard Woman, Liz. and then the sons, Deanna's husband, with all his bullshit, no, he's the king now. Yeah, no, he was Deanna's husband at one time. He's the idiot, but he's coming over here in a few days. We'll see how that one goes. And by the way, for anybody that thinks, well, why would you be so disrespectful? Remember when Trump cut in front of the Queen when they're out on their little walk? He didn't wait for her and all this other stuff to show dominance and everything else. He showed dominance. He made the turn. Let's go. I'm waiting for you. Again, they want to have optics that look like they're running the world. The British Commonwealth. What's the largest country in the world? British Commonwealth. It's hidden in plain sight. This amalgamation of countries under the control of the crown. Well, Canada, you talk to the Canadian people, and they're about done. It was kind of a ruse that Canada wasn't part of the U.S. from the very beginning. Back when we declared our independence, and there's a lot of people want to revisit that at this point in time, and so that's what this really going about. And I have a number of Canadians coming down. I'm doing an event down in Vegas, a pretty small little thing this weekend and this next week and the following week, and there's a couple of slots left open still, I think, right now, if anybody wants to go over to my wife's site, thejennifermack.com, and there's the gold and silver packages. It talks about it there, but it's because we have a piece of art she's bringing out that she wants to reveal, and then our Japanese English version of Kid by the Side of the Road is coming out this week.
Nice.
But the deal is, and there's a coin that goes with it too. That's over at gumroad.com. There you go. There's the commercial for the new Japanese coin. That's pretty cool. It's a Melania coin. Anyway, with all of that in mind, Canada is tired of being pushed around and really just being a lapdog for the Brits. In fact, if you look at all the people that are involved in trying to get this Ukraine thing going, what's amazing, it goes back to Brits trying to keep America under their thumb. Remember, where did the dossier come from against Trump? It came out of the city of London, the city within the city. Where was the guy, the professor at Cambridge, that put on the little conference to try and set up Papadopoulos and Flynn and cause all these problems into the Trump campaign? This guy that was an American, carries 2 passports, worked in the Reagan White House, but he was actually working for Bush, and then got into the banking stuff related to Iran-Contra. And then when that came to the fore, runs off over to England, and becomes a professor, gets his dual citizenship, and hides out over there until he could be used later, getting money from Department of Defense like that on these bullshit contracts. Supposedly an advisor to DOD. When people go in and look at his work, Stephen Halper, the work is bullshit. It was a payoff scam to keep him busy working with the Brits. The intelligence agencies, by the way, are coordinating with the Brits. You look at the Epstein stuff that came out over the last few days. Who was involved at Epstein Island? It was an intelligence honeypotting blackmail operation being run by CIA and FBI, MI5 and 6. That was Randy Andy out of the Crown, Clinton here in the U.S., and then a Mossad connection through the Maxwells. And so you had 3 intelligence agencies that were running Epstein Island. Epstein was just the figurehead for something much deeper, where they were trying to get people, set them up, blackmail them, and get them to do what they wanted. Even university professors. Yeah, we need this green research thing to show that it's going to be better for the world to, go to electric cars and bicycles. And we need your report to show that. Oh, and by the way, we got these pictures of you with the 13-year-old. Okay, so you're going to work with us, right? Jeez, give me a break. The Brits are integral to all of the attacks in America. Well, think about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, when he got the presidency, one of the big campaign things that was huge, they made such a big deal of it. Bill Clinton's a Rhodes Scholar. What's a Rhodes Scholar? Most people had no idea. Cecil Rhodes, out of England, international diamond cartel back at the turn of the century, the last century. He believed that America needed to be brought back under the authority of the crown. And so America, this rogue nation that ran off and did their own thing, needed to be brought to heel and to work under the authority of the crown. So he started paying for scholarships for Americans to come over to England and to learn the English way, learn how to work the English way in America, including in politics, including in the universities, including everywhere, the businesses, the whole schmear. So a Rhodes Scholar, that qualifies you to be president of the United States because you're a Rhodes Scholar. You know how to try to move America back under England's control. What are you talking about? That's why Trump walked in front of the Queen Lizard, okay? Franken put a leash on it. That's the real fight that we're involved in. People don't understand that. So for Canadians, they don't want to be in that camp anymore.
Yeah.
They want to go where they were supposed to go in the first place. They like to be the 51st state. There's a lot of ways we could do it. We say state, but they could be we can partner up with them in other ways that we work the military protections and the business protections like that. Strong brothers working together. Okay, it's not that we want to take over and own Canada. We want to work with the Canadian people and find their own way forward without somebody stepping on their skirt every time they start to get a little ahead. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Greenland too. You can go look anywhere you want. The people up in Greenland, they are pissed because they are not getting the assistance they're supposed to get. They're being treated like the green-haired stepchild. Okay, so they'd like to break free from this control out of Europe again that's going on. And we need them they're going to open up the North Sea for shipping. And the only ones that are going to help them and be able to protect them and work with them in the negotiations and like that is really us. And then they have big mining concerns up there. They'd like to have their mineral wealth out of the ground too.
Yeah.
The fight for mineral wealth that is not known across the world. That's even the situation over there with the Congo. They're mineral rich, or one of the richest countries per capita in the world, but it's in the ground underneath them, and they got to have help to get it out, and they got to make some partnerships. And they've had nothing but horrible leadership for the last 150, 200 years. They'll need some help to get out of that hole. But the people in the Congo are pretty articulate. They're amazing people, and just have had poor leadership, and they're trying to pull their way out of it. And I think that's part of this revival that's going on in that area of Africa that started about 20 years ago. So we're going to help them. We'll figure something out. And I know the president was briefed on this yesterday on some stuff. And I'm sure we're going to get somewhere, but it's a tough situation. So anyway,
Definitely.
Sorry, you get me going, and I thinking about
no, you answer. There was people that were asking about Canada in the chat, and you answered their question. You just flowed right into it. It was perfect. So where do you?
Well, they
where
were,
do you think?
by the way, let me just add this.
Yeah.
I think I started there and I didn't finish. Who the hell is using advanced weapons in the form of microwave laser weapons to burn down forests in Canada to open up areas where there's lithium?
Yeah,
Whose
good point.
authority is that being done? This is part of what we're going to cover on March 22nd, and we'll have you in there on the live stream when we do that. We'll have experts from all over the world. That's going to be a long one, about 12-hour day.
Nice.
And even then, we don't get everything in that we probably need to get in. But experts on the military side, experts on the political side, what's behind this, and part of it is who is trying to go grab these resources for their 15-minute cities, and then all the mining. Lithium mines. Lithium is one of the most destructive resources to go after because it's in the upper part of the crust.
Right.
And so you have to just scrape off huge volumes of acreage in order to get a very tiny amount of material. And in fact, we have other ways that we can do this, that if we move to the next generation with certain glassified materials, we don't need the lithium. So this is like a short-term thing. They're going to denude the earth. I flew over Panama, 6-8 months ago, northern Panama. And what they have done in Panama to get lithium is, I mean, I've spent so much time down there. It was grotesque. The way they went after it, and the Chinese are all in through this whole thing. Just get it all, they care less, and then it'll be 200 years before that place looks even halfway enjoyable again. The way they tore it apart. I mean, you could go in and start fixing things pretty quickly, but there's no money. They took the resource and just left it the way it was and walk away. And eventually maybe it'll grow back if it doesn't flood away, all the topsoil gone. It's grotesque for this lithium, and then the destruction going on in Republic of Congo just for some cobalt. You've killed thousands of people for a few ounces of cobalt. There's other places we do have, they're super rich in it. It's easy to get up on the surface, but we talk about blood diamonds. Well, blood resources, and they're trading lives for that. Your green electric car is running on somebody's blood somewhere in the world. Okay, including the lithium they're going after all over the world, burning down these forests, stuff down in Australia, burning it off so they can have their mining stuff down there. And a lot of the crown right in the middle of all that shit, these Commonwealth countries. So we're going to go help them out. We're going to expose this stuff going on and then try to get to a more intelligent way of going about some of the stuff, including the innovation. We've got ways to do a lot of this stuff that truly are innovative, and we're going to do it. And the world's going to be a better place. And America's going to lead the way, and a lot of this on the technology and stuff like that. It's going to be epic. So,
yeah, Panama is definitely beautiful. I only had a brief time there during the invasion, but what I saw was epic. The beaches and the forests, jungles, everything, just exceptional. But I think that invasion, after that invasion, I think that's when it started going downhill. Even though Reagan was still in power, I think they really started to come in and take over. Thanks to Jimmy Carter, of course. But still, we
was really
turned
Bush.
around a problem.
It was Bush. Remember, Bush was at the.
Was that under Bush?
That stuff at that time too. Yeah, and that's one of the things too. By the way. You don't see it. You don't realize it. You go back through and sift through. History is not going to be kind to the Bush family.
No.
And the things that were going on, the mischief, a lot of that stuff was tied in very closely with the Brits and their globalist perspective and mentality. And so you're gonna see a lot of stuff come out. Trump. Right off the bat, as he came into office, he put out a little statement, and he said, if you're coming over looking for a job in the new administration here, and your resume has any time, involved with, accolades from the Bushes, the Clintons, Romney's, etc. He went down and listed several things. Don't even waste your time applying. We're going to put it in the circular bin immediately. We'll run it through the proper channels. Yes, thanks for sending it. One flush usually does it, but some of the bigger ones we'll have to flush twice to get rid of it. But we're not wasting.
Yeah, going after the deep state is really. I mean, he's got the team for it right now. Where do you think it's going to happen over the next couple of weeks with probably Epstein files and JFK and all those other files coming out?
Well, the thing about the Epstein files, and I know a lot of people were just all pissed off, nothing burger, etc. Not exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, Southern District of New York has the files from court stuff, thousands and thousands of pages of interviews and stuff like that. And they were ordered by Bondi to turn all of that stuff over before Cash was even sworn into the FBI. And some people saw the communication over to from Bondi to Cash outlining that these materials that she had requested had not been delivered, and they were holding them up and weren't complying with her directive to provide all that data. So she sent this letter that sounds terse, like Cash did something wrong. No, she's directing him to do an investigation, figure out who's behind blocking those materials coming to her that she wants to release, and if there's anybody, whoever you find that was actually blocking it, I want to know what kind of disciplinary corrective action you're going to take to solve that problem. And exactly the way the relationship is supposed to be with Cash. Cash works in conjunction with her, but kind of under her broad authorities. And so Cash is now on the hunt. Who has the materials and who didn't comply with a legitimate order to provide those materials, on what basis? And I think there's going to be some people walking out the door and probably get kicked in the ass on the way out the door with some kind of legal action against them. But, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. Cleaning the ranks out at the FBI, because what they were blocking was allowing the information to come out about who was being blackmailed and there at Epstein Island. Remember, it was a honeypot situation. So everybody that went there, some of the list that's blacked out, you think it's just the kids that were victims or whatever involved in the sex stuff. But a number of the people that are blacked out are people that were set up going to Epstein Island that had no history or clue what they were going to. And then when they got there, they didn't actually do the big bad deeds. Okay. They weren't compliant. So some of the names that are blacked out were the kids who have testified about what happened. They were asked, all these different people, pictures shown to them, and those people hadn't done the bad things. So they went on the plane, but they were victims themselves because they were targeted. Imagine you're not that kind of a person for the most part. You get invited, you think you're going to be there with, world leaders. You're going to rub shoulders with them, and they're going to help get your project, funded and get you to the right connections to make something you're doing go somewhere. You're going to get funded in your university program with more grant money or something. So you go because you're all excited. And then you get there and you find out that they're trying to, before they'll let you do anything, you got to doink the kid or something like that to get the blood transfer from a young person to rejuvenate your mind and stuff like that with a direct transfusion and other stuff. And you had no clue the viper's nest you just got baited into. So what then they have done is they've had a number of these people come back, and they actually were, wanted to, say what they had experienced and try to testify or something like that, or they didn't do the bad deed. And so some of those names that are blacked out, it's not a huge number, but some of them were actually targeted and were victims as business leaders, politicians, political people, stuff like that. And the kids in their testimony said, no, that person, I didn't have a problem with that one. I didn't have a problem with that one. And nobody's there to accuse them of anything. So, and they've been gone to and interviewed and then told what they know. So at some level, they're being protected for the time being. Probably not permanently, but for a period of time, because they actually are trying to help the bigger investigation. One of the people that I know that is on the list years ago told me that what happened, and he says, he realized that there was something really bad here, and he was really getting pushed, and he just hadn't really thought it through. He wasn't the best guy in the world, but he wasn't the most evil guy in the world either. He's a player, lots of girlfriends and like that. But he literally just drank a bunch of salt in a glass, took a salt shaker, poured it in a glass and drank it down, and then puked where they saw him puking and looking horrible. And he just went to his room, locked the door, hid out, and when everybody else left, he left and sat in a different part of the plane and got out of there. And so you've got some people that had some moral compass or something that were targeted but didn't actually agree with or want to go along with what was going on there, and kind of realized at some point that they were being set up. Just remember Papadopoulos. He knew something was wrong when he went to Israel on this oil gas thing. He stopped in Turkey on his way back to the United States, found an attorney, and then the $10,000 they forced on him in Israel, he gave it to the attorney. The attorney put it in the safe. When he got to the U.S., FBI is there at the airport ready to meet him. Well, they thought he was going to come in with $10,001 in his pocket, and they were going to say that he was in violation of the money laundering laws and trying to bring more capital, and they were going to set him up and blackmail him to give them information from inside the Trump campaign. And he was innocent. He didn't do anything wrong. They were trying to set him up and corner him. They sent, the FBI right now, Comey, is under investigation right now because we have a whistleblower that was present in the room when Comey was sending out and then debriefing two FBI officers, women, that were honeypotting inside the Trump campaign. They were specifically directed in 2015 before Crossfire Hurricane, where the Russia thing started. They were sent in without any basis for need for investigation into the Trump campaign to bed people inside the Trump campaign and honeypot them and give them information. That's the job of the FBI, to go try to rope people in. Well, they were doing it at Epstein Island. This has been going on for a long time. And then Comey wasn't reporting this in any normal way. You have to have records of what's going on. He wasn't making any record. And there's ways to conceal it against other groups and agencies. There's about a half dozen ways he could have done it. He didn't do that. So Comey was part of a honeypotting operation by people on the payroll of FBI, officers, women, sent to go bed people inside the Trump campaign in 2015. Think about that. And
wow.
Then you think Epstein Island is where it stops? He's under investigation right now. That's a huge thing. And
I mean, Hugh Hefner, Playboy Mansion. We have lots of instances of this going on for a while.
Well, Obama's mama.
She was
Marshall Davis.
Yeah. Tell us that story. Oh my God.
S&M magazine thing. Yeah, she, Obama's mama, when she was late 15, early 16, she was in the Sex and Masochism magazine that Frank Marshall Davis published. Frank Marshall Davis got money that was CIA money, even though Obama's grandpa was on the payroll of FBI. His wife, his grandma, Obama's grandma, was on the payroll of CIA. They were both assets, working issues. Obama's grandma, Toots, she was the banker to the Marcoses. And when they went into exile in California, in Hawaii, she handled all their bank stuff. She'd been handling it for 20 years before that. And for the Marcoses, because CIA was running, trying to run the Philippines. So, but Stanley Ann Dunham, Obama's supposed mother, she didn't even birth Obama. She went and picked him up at the Peace Arch Hospital in Vancouver, BC, brought him back to Seattle, said that she had the baby. People that went to school with her in high school and knew her at the college at University of Washington had seen her in June, and she wasn't pregnant. She's in a bikini with a sheer top and was going to go down and go canoeing at the Arboretum that afternoon. And when she was signing up for fall classes, and suddenly she shows up 3 months later with a baby that's about 6 months old, clearly claiming that she'd had the baby August 4th. You know,
Wow.
6 weeks.
I've never
earlier,
heard this one. That's
7
good.
weeks. Yeah, no, there's women that they have put their statements out in the public about what they saw, and they were babysitting the baby in October while she's going to classes, and this baby is clearly 6-7 months if it's a day old, putting out tonnage of poop in the diapers type of thing, trying to roll over and walk. And, clearly, it was a ruse. Obama's mama was in the family business. And what was the family business? In part, honeypotting. She's 15, maybe 16 years old when she's in the Sex and Masochism magazine. You go online and find the stuff showing it. And she's in the family business. Frank Marshall Davis got his money from the same exact source in the same time period as Hugh Hefner got his money. And then remember, Hugh Hefner, he said he got the money to start the magazine from friends and family. And he does Playboy. Okay, who's the first cover girl?
Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe. And at that exact time
Another honeypot, yeah.
Marilyn Monroe had clearance, had a badged access to Hilltop Air Force Base there at the top of Topanga Canyon, where they were infiltrating Hollywood. People get all upset. This is all in the same era. Remember, Hugh Hefner stopped doing the movie stuff in this same era as CIA was coming in there. And then he did his own honeypotting stuff with all the little starlets and the training and like that. And they were infiltrating. He was doing a spy operation on what the CIA was doing in Hollywood because he knew what was going on with their connection to Tavistock in England. When you go deeper and deeper and deeper, even the CIA, what was it based on? It was based on the operations of British intelligence in World War II. We coordinated with them. So when CIA was formed, you had this already existing very deep ties to British intelligence and MI5 and MI6. MI5 is like our FBI internal, supposedly. MI6 is external, like our CIA, but they blend so many things now. FBI is everywhere, all over the world. They're tag teaming, doing this stuff, and
CIA
again,
all
it's
in
with
the
the
United
Brits.
States. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to. What Trump's doing right now, he's having to go in and unravel these intricate relationships and kick out a lot of these people that have kind of a dual relationship. Remember Halper, Stephen Halper, who was in the Reagan White House, really doing work for Bush in the first part of the first term of Reagan. In the second half of Reagan, he goes and does banking stuff. Well, what's the banking tied to? Iran-Contra. What's Iran-Contra all about? Guns for money, all the South American stuff. Bush took control. He comes into office and, what are you going to do? You're the vice president. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to take in and worry about drug interdiction into South America, the Drug Interdiction Task Force. I'm going to help to make sure that we stop the drugs from coming into America. And that was his role. Well, what was Bush doing before he became vice president? He was head of the CIA. He wanted to make sure that he protected what they were doing in South America because they were using the drug running as a black bag operation to fund other things that they were involved in. And by the way, where was Bush before he became head of the CIA? Miraculously, amazingly, he's a oil genius with his little oil company that gets certain contracts and like that. And so he's plum picked, sheep dipped into becoming the business liaison advisor under Reagan or under Nixon to go to China. He'd been involved in the intelligence world for a long time, all the way back to the 50s. Okay, he was there at the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, he basically trained was part of training the Assassin 40 James
Yes.
Files and all those guys are, involved in all that.
Yes, and so he's a Rockefeller guy.
Yeah.
And what you're really seeing here in America, Trump has got, externally he's dealing with the Brits, internally he's dealing with the Rockefeller crowd, and that's why, for example, who was it that had the big deal down in Venezuela with oil coming out of Venezuela? Chevron Oil. What's Chevron? Rockefellers. What's and he hasn't quite gotten to it yet. It'll be something that we see some action on here, probably not too much longer. But Saudi Arabia, who's running Saudi Arabia? What's their big oil company? Aramco. What's Aramco? What's that mean? Arab American Oil Corporation. When we shut down these huge monopolies, Chevron, Standard Oil had to break up, and they went other places. Well, where was one of the most important places they went? To Saudi Arabia. And so
was Getty involved in that? J. Paul Getty?
Getty was more the shipping. And so he could get the oil from where it was being taken out of the ground to where it was supposed to go. And so there was relationships there. Of course, U.S. Protecting that shipping from any kind of attacks or intervention. He was just a very good businessman. He, I don't think he was anybody's. It was his own best friend, but I don't think you can put him in quite the same category as you put the Rockefeller family. Rockefellers, they set up the UN. That's why it's not Rockefeller. Rockefeller property there in New York.
Used to be a cattle slaughterhouse field or something.
Yeah, it was a slaughterhouse for 150 years before that. And Nelson Rockefeller picked that location. Yeah. And, funded by the Lucis Trust, Lucifer Trust.
Lucifer Trust, yeah.
So, I mean, and there's a lot here. One of the things, because you have an audience that does ruminate and consider a lot of spiritual things. You and I've talked about this before, but you really can't do this type of work and not be pretty hyper sensitive about spiritual things, I don't believe. Because you always have that sixth sense that you got to have to stay alive. You've got to kind of know that there's a lot of stuff you don't see. And you could stay purely in the physical people and things like that. But usually pretty quickly, you'll have experiences where there's something else. Plus, at different times, you're facing situations where you could be dead in a heartbeat. So if, it's that... you've got you go into battle and you might not be very God-minded, but you still say a prayer, right? You'll hear guys, I don't know if you're there, God, but if you are, I don't want to die today, and people that would never darken the door of a church, and yet they get a little bit of religion in that situation. But they're also sensitive to spiritual things. They know there's things that you can't see that affect the course of events and like that. That's, again, this situation of we're in a war, and it's war by other means. There's, guns and bullets and, machetes and all sorts of things like that. But there's some kind of evil that is driving all of that. In the Congo, the bloodlust, not just to go kill a bunch of Christians, but to do it in a horrific, demonstrative way, an overkill kind of a way, in a terroristic fashion with beheading and the horrors being done to children like that. There's something evil at a whole different level that we face. And you look into America, the Epstein stuff, that's actually not just as clean as we want to honeypot some guys and get them under control for whatever. The way that it was done with some of the allegations that are more horrid into things going on at Epstein Island, you realize there's a level of evil that is beyond the pale. And by the way, one of the people that I talked to related to the P. Diddy stuff, back before this actually began breaking out in the public, he said, "No, you don't understand, man. This is just plain satanic. These guys worship Satan, and they are a whole different kind of grotesque with what they're doing." And this was just before it became public. And that person was very, very clear with what's going on. It's not just the sex stuff. It's something more involved. Oh, my little squirrel buddy here just showed up. He didn't like camera. He was probably about 5 feet from me, and then I put the camera on him. He decided to run off. But anyway.
So I just saw, I just heard a little bit of Nino had Jaguar Ride on, and she was talking about Heidi Fleiss, the madam, that basically was providing lots of women, probably men too, to a lot of these events, like P. Diddy's event. Still, she was basically exposed as a Hollywood madam, but still she's in business. It's insane because they keep her in business, and probably
she went to
Epstein
jail.
Island and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, she went to jail for a period of time. In fact, if you listen to Heidi's way of saying it, she just wasn't keeping the right people greased. And that's why they prosecuted her in the first place and sent her off to jail. She now knows how it's done and how to stay on the right side of it. And then, of course, she was, she had the right connections. I mean, she didn't know any other way to make a living the way she wanted to live. She had to be as close to legitimate as she could. And remember, all the P. Diddy stuff, he was being touted as this great businessman, genius businessman, everything he's doing. Well, now that you look at this thing a little bit more closely, how much of it was businessman and how much of it was blackmail and honeypotting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And funded by 3-letter agencies. Yeah.
And
definitely.
funded by, because again, what you're going to find out is that Diddy just a more advanced variation of Hugh Hefner. And when Hugh Hefner died, they had the underground tunnels there, and they went to adjoining properties. So one of my acquaintances actually had to go. Actually, his dad went. He has a history in Hollywood, but his dad also did. And so he got a call. We found some stuff here that from the estate, and we'd like to go ahead and give it to you. And when he got there, they wanted money to get some of the tapes that were there from, actually, in this case, I think it was film. It was that old of him. And they eventually, he wasn't going to pay for it. It would be like early version of blackmail. It might disrupt his marriage. Well, that wife had been gone for a long time, so he wasn't that concerned about it. But then he did end up paying for it just to keep it from going out and disrupting
I never
his life.
looked at that aspect of it. That's incredible. I always thought it was just for controlling people, but they were using it for blackmail, getting money too. Wow, of course.
Well,
Incredible.
and of course, that was at the tail end. They were trying to, scrape the bottom of the barrel and get every penny they could out of the thing, and they had a lot. A lot. So, and one of my friends, he went to Playboy stuff in the 60s.
Yeah.
And, they would laugh and recount about it. And by the way, I've mentioned this in other shows and probably on yours too, but just as for anybody new we have out there, Playboy, when it got in trouble in the early 70s and couldn't pay their bills and looked like they were going to go bankrupt, they had the bunny jet, famous bunny jet with the bunny ears and like that. And so they were leasing it out to Department of Defense at outrageous rates, okay? and it was running all over the country, and it was the Nazi paperclip scientists that were using the jet. So they were going down to Argentina, they were going to other locations in between, and then all over the U.S. in the bunny jet, and on their science work and like that. They were still very, very heavily involved in all of that. So, again, showing the connection between the intelligence agencies and the military and these honeypotting operations, an earlier version of Epstein. And by the way, even when we talk about Epstein, you that's the one you're hearing about. You're probably really looking at realistically 24 similar operations going on around the world, which our CIA and British intelligence and Mossad specifically were involved in. That doesn't even include all the other countries with stuff going on. And again, I go back to Republic of Congo. Who was running the operation that was bringing kids to our embassy? Okay. Maybe more blatant there in the region. The people there knew it was an open secret about the pedophilic activities. And then how does that look for us as Americans? As though we're approving of it as a nation. These are things that have to get sifted out. There needs to be investigations of all the people that were there, top to bottom, and its role in not protecting and aiding in the collapse of an entire country. Yeah, they're a little country in Africa. Most people have no idea. There's horrible histories there. Yeah. Uganda had Idi Amin in the early 80s, and he was, eating people, literally. He's a cannibal. Had his girlfriend in the icebox because she pissed him off over something when he finally got taken out. And by the way, it's not just way back then. When we went into Somalia, one of the things that was important when Black Hawk Down happened, a friend of mine was the general in charge of that whole thing, trying to get out of that situation. Why had they gone to Somalia in the first place? Why were we there? Because the warlords in Somalia, literally, running these pirate teams out to go try and take over boats and things like that. The warlords that were running that were cannibals. And so when Black Hawk Down happened, the reason they were so vicious to get to those men and their bodies even and get them out of there was because these warlords wanted to get hold of their bodies to eat them.
Jesus.
Think about that.
I never heard that.
That's why the guys
Crazy.
the way they did. Yep.
Wow.
General Gary Harrell, 2-star. 3 days after that was over, he was on the tarmac by the helicopters, and they heard a thump and looked around to see where that came from. And there was another thump, and looked around. They're like, "What was that?" And then they realized they were under mortar attack. And the first 2 mortars were duds, hadn't been armed. But the third one landed literally at Gary's feet and blew up. And because it landed so close to him, it blew most of the muscle and flesh off of his legs, but it spared him. And one of his guys that was there with him literally reached into the opening in his leg, grabbed the femoral artery, and held it off. They threw him in a little bird that was right there on the tarmac a few feet away and flew him over to the hospital. He'd have been dead in 30 seconds if they hadn't done what they did, and miraculously saved his life. And then he spent the next couple of years recovering. Actually was able to get up and walk around, attended the funeral of some of his guys. And he pretty amazing guy. If it hadn't been for that, he'd be a 4-star right now. And but he just passed away last year. And he, doing some of the training and testing, they were testing years ago breaching systems where you would, throw in an explosive device into a small room and then go in and take the room, for stunning people or for killing. For certain operations, there was one particular one that they were trying to do. But, when you think about it, how much explosive charge do you need for what size room?
Yeah.
If the room is 12 by 12, it's one size. If the room is, 30 by 30, it's a whole different amount of charge you might need. And how does it affect everything? Well, they were testing these different volumes of material to get it down for a particular situation. And when they were going into the room, they were going in immediately after the explosion, kind of doing these simulations and breathing this aerosolized lead.
Ooh.
And so, the dust. Well, when he died of brain cancer. And we looked at a number of people that had had similar stuff and realized, oh, shit, nobody was really thinking about it. But, they're walking into a hazardous environment with this aerosolized lead. And that probably was what led to the brain cancer. And a couple of other guys with something similar. So, he, ultimately died of something related to his work that you would never think. Shit, it wasn't in the field. It wasn't, all the bad guys. It was something else. So, there's a lot of risks trying to do what we do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a couple of my SEAL Team 6 buddies were there in Somalia, and they said it was just like if anybody was along the roads, everybody was getting shot at because they were using human shields to shoot behind people. And they said they stopped in an intersection because there was such confusion of where to go to get people. And this old woman came out. She looked down the road, and they're like, "What is she doing?" She walked back, and then a RPG came down and came close to them. She walked back out and walked back, and the RPG came a little bit closer. She walked out again, and they shot her. So it was like everybody was getting shot. It was crazy. But yeah, I never heard that it was because those guys were like cannibals. I would have been shooting everybody too. Geez.
There's some pretty tough areas of the world. I mean, Africa is so all over the map. You got stuff going on in South Africa and destabilization there. They're trying to be involved up there in Rwanda and Congo. You got people, there's problems in the leadership in Uganda wanting to be involved and take over Republic of Congo. Same thing with Kenya. It's like all the vultures are showing up because they know it's close to collapse. And the question is, can we come up with the right situation, the optics? Is there enough of the leadership intact there to even save it? And it may already be too far gone. It'll be horrible if it is because the people won't have true representation. But it's going to be because of the mineral resources. Otherwise, nobody would care about it.
Yeah.
It's not like Burundi next door has a few things, but nothing much. Congo, it's got it all. And so nobody's invading Burundi, but they're sure as hell going to invade and do something to take over the Congo. And part of the problem that needs to be addressed, a bunch of the people involved have put out this narrative that Elon Musk is working with the Chinese to help them come in and get that cobalt. And so there's a local theme within that region that says that Musk is involved with and assisting with what the Chinese are doing through Rwanda to try and get that cobalt. It is absolutely, totally untrue, top to bottom. On the other hand, there is a relationship with the electric systems and cars. The biggest customer for Tesla isn't American customers, it's Chinese. And so there is that guilt by association. So part of the reason that we have to get in there and be pretty aggressive to try and get this under control is, again, the optics. We don't want that kind of bullshit story going out there, and we have to kick the Chinese in their ass with what they're doing there in Rwanda. Back off and stay out. So we'll see what happens. I'm very concerned about it because again, they're targeting people of faith, the Catholics and the Protestants there in Republic of Congo, and they've had an amazing move of God throughout that region. Uganda, into Kenya now. It's been going on for quite a while, and it's like a recoiling of the people of turning away from the evil that you had with Idi Amin, a cannibal, and some of these people that were involved in the Congo, which were also cannibals, and they've worked hard to get a halfway stable government going there. The fight in Somalia still goes on. Ugandan presence there to try and keep that stable there, to stabilize the region. The one thing that's going to make a big difference there, and I don't think it comes best from us here in the West, is there is an East Africa mining association of countries, and they have to work together in their regional interest, to, instead of just a couple little states here and there trying to compete in the world, they need to compete as a region with the rest of the world and working together. And so I've got friends in that, and one of the former directors, a very close friend, that are trying to work something out and help get that more stabilized, so they can work kind of a United States of East Africa kind of a mentality, and they'll be stronger as a group than they are individually. So,
wow, awesome. Well, I got another show coming up with Lee Dunda. She's basically exposing child trafficking is huge here in Florida, and it's being funded by taxpayers. So she's exposing that. So, but
she's one of the people that I have, so much respect for. Think how long she's been at this and everything that she's put into it. And by the way, Roseanne Barr was down there, just left this morning, I think, but she was down there in part doing some stuff related to the child trafficking, and was meeting with Kathy O'Brien.
Oh, wow.
I have the neatest part about this moment, just before I let you go, neatest part about this moment is that so much of the work that we're doing right now and we're seeing done, it looks like it's only to save losing money to, all these scam programs, etc., get control of the politics and the politicians. There's an under the surface theme that just keeps coming back over and over and over, and it relates to human and child trafficking, and these groups that are using that as a point of control. It doesn't matter whether you're talking some of the stuff that hasn't come out yet on the Diddy stuff, Epstein, the stuff coming over the border with the invasion of America there, the drugs, everything else. Child trafficking is right there. So big hat tip to Lee and all of these folks that haven't lost their way in the midst of all these other things going on in the world, all the other important things we're doing, trying to save America and the world by extension. The reality is they haven't lost the most important thing. If you can't protect the innocent, then why would you expect God to protect you? If you won't step forward to help those that are incapable of it, the most vulnerable by age and other things, then God help me this and protect me that and bless me this way and give me all sorts of things. If you won't lift your finger to stop this bullshit, how does it go on for all these years without being stopped, even up till now? In fact, it's worse than ever. So I'm glad you're doing the show. Appreciate a chance to talk with you and your audience. And there you go, bro.
Absolutely. You're amazing, man. And God, what a wealth of information. So jennifermack.com, guys. I got it there. It's in the chat. It's in the description box. So definitely go over there, hit the shop button, get in there and get some stuff. It's absolutely amazing. So Juan, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Always enjoy it. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
It was never about the money. It was always about the children. And like we were saying, the Epstein stuff is pretty much probably the very tip of the iceberg of the tame side of how bad it can get, I imagine. So I don't know. We'll find out more in the coming days. It seems like we're waiting long enough for the Epstein stuff. But what an episode. A long one, huh? Oh, I forgot what he was saying there at the end I wanted to mention. But I don't know, guys. I'm surprised you're all still awake, to be honest with you. I guess it's still kind of early, but long episode. We'll probably cut it here and pick things up tomorrow and take things from there. I've heard there's been some updates in Gene Hackman's death, but I haven't seen him yet, so if you guys know, you can fill me in the chat, but not really on the political side of things, huh? You guys are awesome for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We're at an interesting point. A lot of change to come. March kind of feels like it symbolizes what's coming. I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just the change in the weather and change all around. I don't know. But it's positive change. I feel pretty positive about it. I feel like we got a lot of good things to come, and we're just breaking the ice on things. So I appreciate you being here, Patriots. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go rest, call it a night. God bless you and much love. Rest easy, guys. We'll catch up on the rest of things tomorrow. That's basically where we're at. Too tired to think of anything else, so I'm going to call it. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.
This is a special flag because it's filled with love from all of your family. All right? Now, with your dad being in the military and me being in the military, they've given me this honor and privilege to present this special flag to you and your sister. All right? So with that, on behalf of the United States Army and a grateful nation, I would like to present this flag to you as a token of appreciation for the sacrifice that your father made to this great nation and all Americans. So know that when you look at this flag, all of America is thankful for your father serving in the U.S. Army and the sacrifices he made to ensure our country was safe and secure. So please accept this flag on behalf of our country.
Good morning, everyone. Here I am at Area 51. Just look at this beauty. It's been here for almost 40 years. Not a secret anymore, thanks to Donald Trump. Let me switch to the front camera. I'll show you this wonder. It's not even metal. Scientists say it's something else, but no one will say what. All right, that's it for today. Stay tuned, because in the next videos, we'll show you who's actually flying these things.
You're in for surprise. You're in for a shock. In London town streets, when there's darkness and fire, when you least expect me, and you turn your back, I'll attack. I smile when I'm sneaking through shadows by the wall. I laugh when I'm creeping, but you won't hear me at all. Turn your back on the rip-off. You'll soon shake with fear, then never knowing if I'm near. I'm sly and I'm shameless, nocturnal and nameless, except for the rip-off, or if you like, Jack the Knife.
What we're seeing in Ukraine is we're seeing a country that is, and everybody knows this now, there's no more hiding this. So why is Ukraine so important? Well, it's a hub for human trafficking. It's a hub specifically for child trafficking. It's a hub for narcotics trafficking. It's a hub for weapons trafficking. We know about our biolabs because Victoria Nuland said we had them there. I mean, we've always known that, but that's stated now publicly. And there's a lot of money just flowing into this country. And you say to yourself, where is this money going? And is it money laundering? Is it money laundering? I mean, you name it. Just this week, and it may not have come up on your screen, but I know you pay attention a lot. I mean, there's a couple of people. I think one of them is like somebody in the Ministry of Defense there, and it might be the Minister of Defense, or maybe somebody in his orbit. They're buying these gigantic homes for, millions and millions of dollars. And you say to yourself, how is this the case?
Right now, not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
cap will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to be. The picture cap will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to. The picture cap will remind me. Don't call me daughter, not fit to be. The picture cap will remind me. Don't call me.
One of the things that I learned from whistleblowers from the cabal itself is that they have to work within something they call the rules. And this is very, very important. The rules are a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. Now, what do I mean by allowed to exist? I mean that they are aware that there are benevolent forces that will prevent them from achieving their goals unless we give them permission to enslave us. Ultimately, the universe is intelligent, alive, and conscious, and it is benevolent. It is a benevolent consciousness. That consciousness does not allow the negative to succeed unless it is invited. So the cabal has made a science, a very elaborate science, out of studying these arcane, occult, magical principles that allow them to get away with what they do. So they have to put out everything that tells you who they are in music videos, in these Super Bowl halftime shows, the Grammy Awards ceremonies. They're out there showing you the truth. This is what people are going to have so much trouble with once disclosure happens, is that these people actually practice black magic, and they are very, very good at it.
Gratitude is a force, a perspective changer. When life seems a maze, gratitude is the guiding light. It's not about saying thank you out of habit. It's a mindset, a heartfelt recognition of life's gifts. When we embrace gratitude, our eyes open wider. We don't just see a sunrise, we feel its warmth, its promise. The laughter of a loved one isn't just a sound, it's a reminder of bonds that uplift. Being thankful is transformative. It doesn't erase challenges, but equips us to face them with strength and hope. With gratitude, setbacks aren't endpoints. They're stepping stones, parts of our journey to growth. But it's more than just a momentary feeling. It's a daily commitment. Making time for gratitude means making time for a more fulfilling life. In gratitude, we find clarity. We find purpose. We find joy. In the dance of life, gratitude is the rhythm. As you move forward, let it guide you, inspire you, and remind you of the beauty in every step. With gratitude in your heart, every day becomes a gift to cherish and share.
if I've got nowhere to go? Search for seas of gold. How come it's got so cold? How can I be lost in remembrance I relive? And how can I blame you when it's me I can't forgive? These days drift on inside a fog. It's thick and suffocating. This sinking life outside its tail, inside intoxicating. He's run aground like his life, water much too shallow, slipping fast down with the ship, fading in the shadows now. A castaway, babe, all gone away. They gone away. How can I be lost if I've got nowhere to go? Search for seas of gold. How come it's got so cold? How can I be lost in remembrance I relive? And how can I blame you when it's me I can't forgive? Forgive me. Forgive me not. Forgive me. Forgive me not. Forgive me. Forgive me not. Forgive me. Forgive me. Why can't I forgive me? Set sail to sea, but pull off course by the light of golden treasure. How could he know this new dawn's light would change his life forever? How can I be lost if I've got nowhere to go? Search for seas of gold. How come it's got so cold? How can I be lost in remembrance I relive? So how can I blame you when it's me
every day says, I want to settle the war, let's negotiate. And Zelensky has said, we're not going to negotiate. But 92, the wall came down in the Soviet Union. Gorbachev said, I'm going to allow you to reunify Germany, but I want your commitment. After that, you will not move NATO 1 inch to the east. And we solemnly swore we wouldn't do it. Well, then in 97, we're going to move NATO 1,000 miles to the east and take 15 countries into it and surround the Soviet Union. We then overthrow the government. In 2014, their elected government and put in a Western sympathetic government. Russia then has to go into Crimea because they have a port at Vladivostok. It's their only warm water port. And they know the new government that we just installed is going to invite the U.S. Navy into their port. So then the Russians go in. They only send 40,000 people. It's a nation of 44 million people. They clearly do not intend to conquer Ukraine. But they want us back at the negotiating table. The Russians just want a guarantee that Ukraine won't join NATO. Zelensky signs the treaty. Putin's people sign the treaty. And Putin starts withdrawing the Russian troops in good faith. And what happens? Joe Biden sends Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, over to Ukraine in April and forces him to tear up the treaty. And since then, 450,000 kids have died who none of them should.
These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. Most organizations that end up being used to prey on children, Oxfam is a recent example, all of the United Nations organizations, the Boy Scouts of America, all of the child services agencies across the United States of America, they did not start out as organizations to prey on children, but they attract pedophiles. And ultimately, pedophiles end up rising in the ranks and controlling those organizations, so that an organization that initially started out in the service of children becomes an organization that is in fact hunting children.
Another misfit kid, another
as expected, the Epstein files turning into a complete shit show. Monday, journalist Michael Schellenberger reported that he had a whistleblower telling him that the FBI and the CIA were destroying evidence and files, right? Big shocker, right? Today, they're reporting that those files are related to Epstein and J6. Pam Bondi this is also being reported that Pam Bondi, in her possession in these FBI files are video evidence of celebrities, politicians, and UK royalty in compromising situations with minors. Shocker. More shocker, like, tell us something we don't know. Well, that's a lot bigger than they originally thought it was. They have more evidence. On top of that, there are IRS reports of Jeffrey's funding that are that would be the indication of who was funding Jeffrey and this giant trafficking operation. Yeah. So that's more than just a list of who was fucking on the plane, right? So the reasons that you wouldn't want to release this would be if you're going to build a big case and prosecute these people, you can't just dump all your cards on the table and dump all that out. So that makes sense. Now, that whistleblower also said that there are redundancies in the FBI system of multiple servers, and they're disconnected, they're not networked, and that there are backups to this evidence, and they are unsure of whether or not the people that are destroying evidence are even aware of that. The one FBI guy was explaining that the higher-ups at the FBI, like the most corrupt fuckers, clearly, Comey, McCabe, all these cocksuckers, they wouldn't know how to delete shit off of a fucking computer if their life depended on it, right? But that doesn't mean they're not going just full Hillary Clinton on this shit and just smashing shit with fucking hammers, you know? I suppose that's an option. Might be kind of weird if you're just in, like, the FBI building just smashing shit. Like, I'm pretty sure you'd get in trouble for that. But the whistleblower says Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have been made aware of this on Monday, and they were doing something about it. The whistleblower says he's been told by legal counsel to kind of slow his roll so that Kash can get a handle on it. Where this all goes, I would like to see prosecutions. I think we want to see people held accountable so we can understand the holding of some of this information. Now, does that make the release of the flight log list, like, impossible? I don't know. I ain't a fucking lawyer. Like, I want to see people swing, so I would love to see you err on the side of caution to ensure that we can see some people swing, right? That's where I'm going with it. That's my thoughts on it. And I guess what more can we do than trust Kash and Dan and Pam to do the right thing? I think they will. I'm going to hold faith. And I think the rest of you should as well. So good luck to you all. Godspeed to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, and long live this fucking beautiful republic.
Stuck in the middle, I burrow inside. Back to the cradle, away from the burdens of all my crimes. Before it's fatal, the past has found me, the truth's come out. All is remembered, there's no place to fall, but straight down. I will remember, and it seems I fully thought of everything. I want to love, I want to feel, I find peace, I find the real. It's the face I put on all my life, the face of an angel. I look in the mirror only to find the face of a stranger. I'm taking a hunger for more, 'cause I'm selfish, and all I'm left with is a crown of thorns. me they could use a little turning. So tired that I couldn't even sleep. So many secrets I couldn't keep. I promised myself I wouldn't weep. But one more promise I couldn't keep. It seems no one can help me now. I'm in too deep, there's no way out. This time I have really led myself astray. Runaway train, never going back. Wrong way on a one-way track. Seems like I should be getting somewhere. Somehow I'm neither here nor there. Can you help me remember how to smile? Make it somehow all seem worthwhile. How on earth did I get so jaded? Life's mystery seems so faded. I can go when no one else can go. I know when no one else knows. Here I am, just a drowning in the rain, with a ticket for a runaway train, and everything seems cut and dry. Day and night, earth and sky. Somehow I just don't believe it. Runaway train, never going back. Wrong way on a one-way track. Seems like I should be getting somewhere. Somehow I'm neither here nor there. Bought a ticket for a runaway train, like a madman laughing at the rain. A little out of touch, little insane. It's just easier